Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Crime and Sports early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the app today.
In the depths of an Atlanta forest, a clash between activists and authorities ends in tragedy. I'm Matthew Scher, and on my new podcast, We Came to the Forest, we expose the hidden truths behind a shootout that left one activist dead and countless lives forever changed. Binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest ad-free on Wondery Plus.
And welcome to Crime and Sports.
Yay!
Oh, yay indeed, Jimmy. Yay indeed. My name is James Petrogallo. I'm here with my co-host.
I am Jimmy Wissman.
Thank you, folks, so much for joining us on another wild, crazy edition of Crime and Sports. And boy, do we have a weird one for you today. Just some crazy action, 90s baseball player, which is always fun. And then, wow, did life fall apart, like almost immediately after playing. It's really pretty crazy. We'll get into all that. Quickly, just want to thank you for everything. Your reviews help a lot. Thanks for those. 5 stars, whatever app you're listening on. Head to shutupandgivememurder.com right now for everything crime and sports and small town murder. You should check out Small Town Murder on Thursdays and Fridays as well. We have the short express episode on Friday. Maybe give that a shot if you want to dip your toe in the water there, wet your beak with a little Small Town Murder. But, yeah, we have all the stuff on there. Get your tickets for live shows. Bunch of Small Town Murder live shows. We're going to be in New Orleans in, what is that, July 15th, 17th, 15th?
Yeah, 15th.
And then Atlanta, but that's sold out. But get your tickets for New Orleans. Crime and Sports in August in Sacramento. There is tickets for Crime and Sports live, and it's Daryl Strawberry you got to come for that. Come see our crazy Daryl Strawberry episode. So check that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Please, patreon.com/crime and sports. My goodness, do we have such good stuff on there. We have a whole huge back catalog you'll get access to if you're a patron. And that's anybody $5 or above. You get access to everything. Crime and Sports.
Both of them.
Small Town Murders bonus. The whole back. There's like 150 episodes. All this stuff on there. And this week what you're going to get is we are going to get into last year, about a year and a half ago, we just did like a list of sports movies and talked briefly about them. This time we are going to do this. We are going to talk about top 5 sports movies for each of us, a list, and in-depth about these movies. A couple of runner-ups, and we're going to exclude a couple that we know will be on both of our lists, like Major League. We'll talk about that separately, but we're not going to be like, well, that's number 2 and it's number 1, and then argue about it. So it's going to be fun. We're going to have a sports movie fun talk debate.
Extravaganza.
Oh, it's going to be fun. And then for Small Town Murder, by popular demand, we're going to do old-timey murders again.
All right.
Those are so fun. We dig into the newspaper archives and find some really strange things from times past and go over that. And I'm going to mix into some weird articles that I found while perusing newspaper stuff over the years. Just some weird stuff that doesn't fit in anywhere, but it's absolutely nuts, like this clown that was murdered in Madison Square Garden in his dressing room, shit like that. Crazy stuff. We'll talk about all of that. Patreon.com/crime and sports is where you get all of that, and a shout out as Jimmy he'll mispronounce your name even though he really wants to get it right. So you can hear that as well, and that is also fun.
So hard.
Oh my goodness, it's a lot of fun. So that said, I think it's time to get into this. Let's do it. We have a lot to do here. It's crazy. Let's get into it with our star of the week, Jimmy.
Yeah.
It is James Joseph Leyritz. You know Jimmy Leyritz?
Jim Leyritz?
Oh, yeah, old Jimmy Leyritz. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't think I realized he was a jerk.
Oh, boy, he's got some fun stuff in his thing here. And up front, Jim Leyritz played for the Yankees, and for a long time, I have to say, Jim Leyritz hit a home run that was real important in the World Series in 1996. So, I mean, Jim Leyritz is one of those guys that he has to do a lot for Yankee fans to be like, he's an asshole. Yeah, because it's like, but he hit that home run, though. He's like, there's a few guys, Bucky Dent in the 70s hit the home run against the Red Sox. You got Jim Leyritz hitting his. There's a few of these home runs that people just remember. Aaron Boone hitting it on the Red Sox, all these different home runs, and Leyritz is right up there with those. So it's kind of like, he had to do a lot to be considered a jerk off. And he did it. Don't get me wrong. He did accomplish his goal here, Jimmy. So
he dug deep.
His nickname is the King. And that is sarcastic, as a matter of fact.
Boy.
Teammates gave him that nickname because he's such a cocky asshole. And
is that right?
And thinks he's so great. He'll say things like, at one point later on, he'll say something to, like, publicly where he's like, I don't understand this. They need to let me play every day like Gary Sheffield plays every day, and maybe I'd have those kind of numbers. And it's like, you're not Gary Sheffield, bro. Like, it's just, you're just not Gary Sheffield. He said that. And you're like, you're not Gary Sheffield, first of all. So, but and the teammates, they'd all roll their eyes and, so the King is what hey, it's the King over here. Check him out. He's great at everything. He's that kind of guy.
Just ask him. He'll tell you.
He'll tell you. And then after a while, it just kind of became affectionate. Like because they ended up liking him because, you get used to somebody when you have to be with him all the time. And
sure.
So that's how it became. So he's born December 27th, 1963. And his parents' names are, and if you're a Mad Men fan, your ears are gonna perk up immediately. His parents' names are Don and Betty.
Is that right?
He's basically Bobby Draper. Like, he's almost the same age. I think Bobby was born in maybe, 58 or something on that show. Oh, I guess he's Gene. He's Gene. He's Gene Draper. That's who he is. He was born in like 63, I want to say, on that show. So, yeah.
That is fascinating.
Holy shit. Jim Leyritz, undercover Gene Draper. Here we go. He's born in Anderson, he's born in Lakewood, Ohio, grew up in Anderson Township, Ohio, and he has a brother and a sister. Yeah. So, kind of your all-American family, 3 kids. Sure. Literally Don and Betty from Mad Men. So, he went to Turpin High School in Cincinnati, and he talks about how lucky he was because at the time when he was growing up, Cincinnati had an NBA team. They had an NBA team, they had a Major League Baseball team, they had a football team, going well. Then they got the
Who was the Cincinnati basketball team?
The one that was it the Royals, Cincinnati Royals, I think.
Right?
Yeah, it's the one that Oscar Robertson played for.
No shit.
Yeah. So it's we were in Cincinnati. I almost got an old Oscar Robertson jersey, as a matter of fact. But instead, I got the George Foster because got to have that. Anyway, he goes to the Turpin High. We'll talk about here. He's the youngest in the family as well, just like Gene. He's got an older sister and an older brother, just like Gene Draper.
He's so wild.
So we didn't know that the life of Gene Draper on Mad Men is actually based on Jim Leyritz. We had no idea. I love that you can see inside of his house because just think about Mad Men. That's it. Think about that. That's what's happening here. Exactly. It's fucking awesome. You don't get that. Damn, man. So he said when he was 6, they moved to Cincinnati. His father was transferred from his job. He said when he was 10, one of his Little League teammates was Tom Brenneman.
No kidding.
Yeah, Marty Brenneman was the longtime, I think he's a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Fame Reds announcer. So he was the voice of Cincinnati, basically. And his son, Tom, ended up being a Diamondbacks announcer for a long time and is kind of a pompous alcoholic. No, I don't know if he's an alcoholic. He seemed like a pompous drunk douchebag to me when I met him working for the Diamondbacks.
He did make a big mistake on. Yeah, he did make a big mistake.
Good to meet you, buddy. Okay.
On TV because I think he was intoxicated.
Did he get DUIs? I'm not sure what happened.
I don't know.
I know he's not on the Diamondback staff anymore, and it's not because of like a mutual.
It's not because he retired.
There was a parting of ways at some point. I don't want to slander the man here or libel him, but whatever. But he did something, I believe, and allegedly. So anyway, he became good friends with Tom, and their families got to know each other.
Fascinating.
And one year, Marty Brenneman, the dad, the announcer, invited the Leyritzes down to Tampa during the spring break for the kids to stay at the Reds team hotel and watch the team in spring training, which...
What kind of life is this?
That's crazy. And those early 70s Reds teams that's the big red machine going on to the mid 70s. So, you're seeing Pete Rose, Johnny Bench, fucking all George Foster, all these great players. It's amazing, Tony Perez. It's awesome. So anyway, he said that, everybody wanted to do it. His dad's a big sports fan. And, shit, he said, how many kids get to hang out at the same hotel with their childhood heroes for 2 weeks?
Nobody. That's who.
And actually have them be nice to you because you're, friends with the announcer's kid. Yeah. You don't want to be a dick to the announcer. He's the guy who tells the people about you. So everybody, players, especially back then, the players and the announcers would hang out and drink together. You know what I mean? Right? Oh, yeah. Before the players were like, also before the media would look for things to talk about bad about the players to get people to buy. Right. That's when guys would see Mickey Mantle crash his car into a pole and they wouldn't write about it the next day. You know what I mean? So that wouldn't happen now. Now it'd be video.
Oh, God, no.
With a guy doing a selfie. I'm right here where Mickey Mantle, there's his fiery wreck of I believe he seems to be alive. That's good. But I'm here on the scene. That's exactly what would be happening now. Different back then, but they used to hang out and drink together and all that kind of shit. So
I wonder when Tom developed his voice, if he had that voice when he was like 8 years old.
When he's 9?
Yeah.
What do you mean I'm playing center field today? I thought I was pitching. Ah, Christ. Leyritz, why don't you come over
Jim,
here and help me out there, pal?
Hey, Leyritz, would you like to go down to Florida with me and the family?
I got a little too deep there. I almost sounded like Vince McMahon in his calmer times at that point. Listen, pal, you gotta get a little higher. It's a little higher for Brenneman, but he's got that voice.
Yeah, he does. It's a fascinating voice.
It's a weird one.
It's a bizarre voice.
You have to condense. If you want to do Vince's regular voice, you have to condense your neck. That's the key, pal. So he says, I'll quote his book here, as we'll talk about later on. Leyritz's book. Oh boy,
he wrote about himself.
Oh, yeah, he did. He says, quote, one day on one of the other fields, a camera crew was setting up. Former Notre Dame football coach Ara Persagian was in Tampa to film a segment on the Cincinnati Reds for his TV show about the proper techniques for hitting and catching. Pete Rose would be doing the hitting and Johnny Bench the catching. So
what?
Yeah, that's what's going on here. The producers were looking for 2 kids to help out in the demonstration.
I know a couple.
I'm a kid. And so Rose said, Tommy, you do the hitting with me. That's Tom Brenneman. And Jimmy, you do the catching with Johnny. So
you have to be kidding.
Yeah, Johnny Bench, the Hall of Fame catcher. He said, I was so nervous. Here I was playing catch with the great Johnny Bench, a future Hall of Famer. And he talked about, Bench showing him proper positioning for receiving the ball, how to throw to second base. And he said, this is crazy. He said, after the filming ended, Bench handed him his mitt and the ball to hold for a minute, and he was like a little kid going, I'm holding fucking Johnny Bench. This is crazy.
Holding the 2 tools that make Johnny Bench Johnny Bench.
That's it. And he said from then on, he told his dad he wanted to be a catcher, and he wanted to be a catcher from then on. Before that, he had no interest in catching, but being next to Johnny Bench was like, wow, that's crazy. So I don't blame him. I would feel the same way. His older brother Mike, he talks about a lot, being 4 years older, and basically his dad tried to be like Mr. Marinovich here. And if you don't understand that reference, go listen to the Todd Marinovich episode. First of all, it's insane, so you really should listen to it anyway. But his father, Marv, was a I'm going to coach you from birth type of guy.
Right.
And the thing is, Todd really didn't have any choice in that matter, whereas this guy, Mike, Jim's older brother, told his dad, I don't want you pushing me and coaching me, and his dad backed off of him because that's not what he wanted. So at least he's If you want dad to coach, he's all in. But if you don't, then he'll back off. So that's good. That's healthy, though. You know what I mean? That's fine. So he said his dad was his older brother was a good player, but he wasn't. That wasn't what he was interested in. He never wanted to be a professional athlete or anything like that. So Jim, though, always did, and he asked his dad to focus. Hey, coach me up. Show me what to do here. So he told his dad he wanted to play something in college. He was a basketball player and a baseball player. He played other stuff, but those are the 2 that he said, he had to concentrate on. And those were the ones he thought he could get scholarships for and shit like that.
Jim's not a big dude, right?
He's 5'10". That's the problem.
Yeah, that's a little guy.
That's a little guy. If you're 5'10", and we'll talk about that's what his dad tells him. Like, listen, I understand that. I get
your
that you
growth spurt stopped. I'm sure you feel big, but you're not big.
He said you might be able to go play some junior college or something as a basketball player, but you're a 5'10" guy who doesn't have a 40-inch vertical jump. Like, you're not going to be a professional basketball player. You're not going to go play for North Carolina and be the starting point guard. But baseball, who knows? You might be able to do it. That's I've heard a lot of guys do that. Who's the Jimmy Rollins, the old Phillies shortstop for a long time there. I saw a thing where he was talking, and he was like, I don't understand why kids aren't playing baseball more, because you don't have to be the most gifted athlete on earth. I mean, you can't be. You have to be an athlete, but you don't have to have a 45-inch vertical jump, or you don't have to be 6'4", 240 pounds, and you don't have to be any of those things. You can be an average-sized guy who learns to play very good defense and have a good eye at the plate, and you can go places with that. Like you can. So you have a better chance if you're not a great athlete of becoming a pro if you're a baseball player. Whereas the NFL and NBA are the top.
Oh God, it's insane.
0.001% of genetic, lottery winners. Basically, these people are not humans like the rest of us. They're just not. Like if you meet an NFL linebacker and you go, oh my God, we're not the same species of human.
Yeah. We aren't made of the same space dust.
No. Meet a 6'11 basketball player who can jump 40 inches into the air. You're like, that is crazy. You're a super person.
How did that happen?
You are a super person. This is wild. But baseball, you can be a little guy. You can be like we talked about, like a Chuck Knobloch, this little guy who hustles and works hard and does all these things, and you can be a baseball player. So not bad. So he said anyway, his father officially dedicated himself to Jim's goal of becoming a baseball player or a basketball player in college and possibly beyond here.
Okay.
He said, quote, I would describe this approach as Dad channeling his favorite coaches, Hall of Famers Bobby Knight and Woody Hayes.
Oh, that's not good.
No, those are both famous assholes. We did a Patreon episode about Bobby Knight's assholeness, and it's hilarious because he's such an asshole.
Famously vicious men.
He's like a comic book villain asshole. Like his stuff is like, it's evil. After he says something, you almost expect him to go, evil, right? Like, yeah. It's fucking crazy. And Woody Hayes is the same way. He's a sadistic asshole. So he said eventually too, Don, he threw himself into it. Don's his father there, threw himself into it, kind of vicariously living through Jim and his athletic dreams. He made a homemade batting cage in the basement.
Really?
Where Jim would hit tennis balls off a tee into a sheet hung from the ceiling. So he made like a sheeted in tennis ball batting cage, which, I mean, with hand-eye coordination for hitting, that's all you need. So
that's all you're learning, right?
It doesn't matter what you're hitting.
It's not simulating the real thing. It's just putting the bat in the right spot.
That's it. Seeing the ball, hitting it, seeing exactly when your bat hits this part of the ball, which way it goes, what it does, and all that kind of shit. So one of his coaches, Jim's coaches in sports here, said, quote, this is his about Don Leyritz, what he remembers, quote, always at the games, always critiquing, but not in an overbearing way. He'd say things like, you ought to listen, you don't move your feet when you were behind the plate, shit like that. So, Jim puts it from his book, quote, he'd often yell instructions from behind the bench during my basketball games. He does say that his instructions were only directed toward Jim. He wasn't yelling at other kids, too. He wasn't that kind of guy. So that's good anyway. You don't want your dad to do that. He says, though, sometimes he'd yell at him to be quiet in the middle of a game. Shut up, Dad. Dad, I'm playing. Enough. Yeah. Christ, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. You don't want that shit. Remember the kids in Little League whose parents were real vocal and you're like, they were never happy about it.
Never, no.
Never. Oh, God, I remember those kids. They were just always...
The faces the kids would make was very evident, but...
It's the 2-inch chin drop of just...
Yeah.
Jesus. All the other kids look at you.
Makes you wish you could mic up their brain just because they're not saying it. Whatever's happening in there, I want to know though. Shut the fuck up, Mom. Or
it's something. As they get older, I think those are the ones that tell their parents, "You're not allowed to come to my games."
Right.
Yeah.
When Landon was swimming, there were swim moms that would chase these kids down the fucking pool screaming at them. It's like, they've got a coach, lady. Sit the fuck down.
They have a coach. Also, they're in the water. All they hear is,
right.
That's what they hear is they're swimming. Shut the fuck up and sit down. If they don't know how to swim by now, you yelling from the side isn't going to make them magically swim better now. We're past that shit. Do that at practice.
Also, if they don't know how to swim by now, it's your fault. So sit in your shame and shut up.
Sit there, shut the fuck up, and let your kids do their goddamn thing.
If your kid does not win, it's your fault.
If they do well, go, all right. That's it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, still go, all right. Either way, just pretend like everything's fine and it's great, and then they can figure out if they suck or not. That's not my job. That's the coach's job to tell them shit. Hey, you're not good at
that. And these places with children athletes are full of those parents, man.
Oh, God, yeah.
They really want to quit their day job, and they need that kid to be successful.
No, they've all seen the Venus Serena Williams movie. They've all seen it. They all have this dream like, well, I could probably do that. Maybe they'll make a movie about me someday, and they've all seen it.
Not.
But it's so prevalent. It's been worse. I think it really, really, really started with Tiger Woods. I really do.
Probably.
I think because that was that 90s, when the media was getting crazy. And I think at that point, everyone saw like, oh, they raised this kid from the time he was 4. He was on Johnny Carson hitting fucking golf balls. If I do that, my kid will be Tiger Woods too. Not also Tiger Woods is very gifted also and athletic as well. None of that. No. It's just that if I concentrate on my child from the time they're 4, they're shoo-in.
Also, Tiger happens to be amazing at a sport that children typically are not amazing at.
Well, they don't normally have the focus. That's the problem. Right. Normally, I mean, if you get a kid to focus, maybe they'd be good at it, but they're bored by it. So they go wander off and hit the ball like, clap, and then they go run over there like they're not interested.
Right.
If you can get
chase it now?
Yeah. You had a kid who was interested in it. So, that's the way it works. But that's a big thing now, these people who are way too into their kids. And you should be into your kids, and that's fine to go do all that, but don't delude. People shouldn't delude themselves on, oh, my child is obviously going to the major leagues.
Right, because he can do something you can't? Well, yeah. A lot of people can do that.
Yeah, and the problem is even if they're good, they might not want to play anymore after a while. Right. You get kids a lot of times, they hit like 15 and they're like, don't want to play baseball anymore. Right. Just not into it. Sorry, and that happens too. So it's tough, man. It's tough, but not really up to the parents. So he said his dad was always there, though. At one point, he was yelling stuff, and the school had banished him, as the way he puts it, banished him to the upstairs bleachers. Oh? So they sent him away from courtside, the father. Uh-huh. So he said that I looked over and he wasn't there, but I could still hear him yelling at me. So I was like, what the fuck is going on here? Did he turn into a ghost or something? So
see Jesus?
Yeah, I guess after the game, his mom told him that they asked his dad to move because his dad was pissing the coach off, which is understandable. So Jim said he walked into the principal's office and threw his basketball uniform on his desk and said, if they're going to treat my father this way, I quit the team.
What?
Yeah, he said by the next game, my dad was back behind the bench.
Okay. It's because of you, Jim.
He threatened, hey, he wasn't taking any shit, man. He went right to his agent. Said, I'm not taking this.
I'm the best player you got.
Best player. He played basketball, football, and baseball while he was growing up, and but he said that, it became having all these sports all year round made him a good athlete because he was always like in good shape and shit like that. He said he was a star in basketball and baseball, but not in football. So he dropped football after the eighth grade. He's like, I don't need this. Concentrate on what I'm doing. I guess he broke his left hand in a football game and had to miss half the basketball season. So he's like, okay, fuck this football shit. Not doing that. So he said, I didn't even like it. I'm not going to risk hurting myself worse in this sport.
And limb.
Yeah. So he also said he switched from football to golf then.
Really?
So he ended up making the golf team as a sophomore. So yeah,
fascinating.
He played golf. One of the amateur baseball teams he played for, his coach, this is the same coach from earlier, said, quote, one of the most competitive kids I've ever coached. That's the way he describes
also
him.
Kind of a rich kid if his dad can afford all of this shit that he can do.
It's definitely, they're not poor. I don't know if they're rich, but they're definitely kind of toward the upper.
Certainly doing great.
Toward the upper part of middle class here where, hey, Dad, we have a traveling game, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, we'll get the whole family. Like, I couldn't have told my parents, can we go to Tampa for 2 weeks because we're going to hang out they would have been like, are you fucking kidding me? We'd have to eat at the motel. You know how expensive that is. I can't take off for 2 weeks. Are you out of your fucking mind? Not happening. And that's normal. I'm not complaining. That's just normal. So this guy had a different kind of life.
Rubbing elbows with the Brennemans.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I guess this Hayden guy coached Leyritz since he was 9 years old. And this one team that he had him on, the Midland Redskins, was Jim Leyritz, Todd Benzinger, who's a future Hall of Famer, or not Hall of Famer, future major leaguer, and then Barry Larkin was on the team also, who is a future Hall of Famer. So,
oh God,
pretty cool that Barry Larkin grew up around here and then got to play his whole career for the Reds. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Be like the hometown hero and shit. So
and be like a fan favorite and be amazing at the game and just
everybody likes Barry Larkin.
What a life he's had.
He's always kind of a quiet guy that it was hard to dislike. Like he just makes the All-Star team every single goddamn year, and hits 290 and does his thing, and it's hard to dislike the guy. So his coach said about Jim, he was always watching the other kids, picking out the guy he thought was the best and trying to be better than him.
Okay.
So that's good. That's what you got to do, goal-oriented here. He said the coach would drive Jim home after games, and during the rides, Leyritz would, quote, figure his batting average down to the last decimal, then he'd figure Larkin's average the same way. He said whenever Larkin got a hit, Jim had to get a hit. If Larkin would steal, Jim would steal. His arm wasn't as strong and he wasn't nearly as fast, but Jim out-hit Barry. He had a better average and more homers.
Is that right?
I guess so. Well, I mean, I don't know. Not later. Overall, I wouldn't say that's a fact. So
when they're getting a major league paycheck, it got different.
A little different. And when one of the guys was on the All-Star team every single goddamn year, that'll change the relationship maybe. So everybody says he's just cocky as fuck is the only way to describe him. From the time he's a kid all the way through, very, very cocky. His coach saw it as a positive. He said that, he walked the walk, he said. He would be mouthy, but then he knew that was maybe his way of pumping himself up to have to back it up then. I can't talk a bunch of shit, then slack off.
Right.
If I'm talking a bunch of shit, I got to go out and perform. So, you're making yourself accountable. That's good. Whatever motivates you.
Yeah. But you know what? Embarrassment motivates a lot of people, too. And if you go fucking say some shit and then look like an asshole because you can't do it.
And go 0 for 4.
It's kind of embarrassing.
You might shut the fuck up next time. All the shit talkers from back in the day in the NBA are all amazingly great players.
They're very good at it.
Gary Payton, one of the best great fucking player.
Right.
When you lead the league in steals every year, you can, you know what I mean? You can talk some shit.
Yeah. Larry Bird's got some rings for all the shit talking.
All that shit talking for a reason. Yeah, there's a lot of guys like that. So, I don't know. One of his other coaches called him, quote, mouthy. Mouthy, thought he was arrogant.
It's fascinating for that sport, too, because that's not really a shit-talking sport.
It's not. But for guys who are not the most athletic, it's like they have to have something else. They have to pump themselves up. And his idol was Pete Rose. Okay. And Pete Rose, not the biggest, strongest, fastest. No. Nothing about him says anything except he's the most balls to the wall guy. Right. You know what I mean? So, that's who everybody compared Jim to because he acted like Pete, and that's what he was. Tom Brenneman said, quote, all he ever wanted to do was play sports. It was sports day and night. He had a basketball hoop in his driveway. We played for hours. And, I guess by the time Leyritz got to high school, he was one of the better point guards around, actually.
Is that right?
Yep. He said, who was this? Oh, yeah. His coach said, quote, he enjoyed having a good time. He ran with kids who like to have a good time. I didn't babysit him. I don't know what they do at 9 when we play. I don't know what they do at 9, not at 9 years old, 9 p.m., when we play at 6. But anybody I knew who was drinking, they're gone. Jim did everything hard. He worked hard. He played hard. Oh, boy. Yeah. He worked hard. He played hard here. He said by the time 1981 came around, he's a junior in high school, and the scouts started looking at him, college and pro baseball scouts. And people, they were taking notes on him, and he's like, oh, shit, he started realizing he has to run every ball out, hustle, like everybody's watching him. And that's when he talked to his dad, and he said that at the time he was 5'10", 165. Ooh. And his dad said, if you want to be a professional, I'd play baseball because you're not going to be an NBA player. It's just not going to happen, probably.
Not at that size, no.
No, it doesn't matter how much you want it. It's just
Charles Oakley is on the court, sir.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the guys who are that size and play in the NBA are insanely quick and fast and have the craziest handles you're going to have. They got to be amazing. You know what I'm saying? Like, Allen Iverson looks tiny. He's bigger than that. So, back in the day, I'm trying to think of like an old.
He's the same size as Spud Webb, but Spud can dunk.
Spud Webb is 5'6". He's not.
No, he's 5'10".
He's 5'6". He's 5'10". No one would give a shit that he was dunking.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're
he's
right.
5'6". Yeah. That's why it was amazing. And then Muggsy can dunk, and you're like, oh my god.
He's 5'3". That's crazy.
And then Nate Robinson's what, 5'5", 5'4"?
I think he's 5'8", isn't he?
I don't remember. You want to?
I want
Jimmy,
everybody to
much
be my
like
size.
himself. Jimmy tries to inflate people's heights a little bit. He's like, yeah, what's that guy, 6'2"?
I swore Spud was 5'10".
No, he's 5'6". That's why it was so interesting that he was a dunker, because you were like, that guy's a fucking tiny person. How the hell is he doing that? He's a tiny little man. Like, that's wild. Most of the people in the audience are bigger than him, and yet he's dunking. That's crazy.
He was hip-hop's biggest mogul, the man who redefined fame, fortune, and the music industry.
The first male rapper to be honored on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Sean Diddy Combs.
Diddy built an empire and lived a life most people only dream about.
Everybody know ain't no party like a Diddy party, so.
Yeah, that's what's up.
But just as quickly as his empire rose, it came crashing down.
Today I'm announcing the unsealing of a 3-count indictment, charging Sean Combs with racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, interstate transportation for prostitution.
I was up. I hit rock bottom, but I made no excuses. I'm disgusted. I'm so sorry.
Until you're wearing an orange jumpsuit, it's not real. Now it's real.
From his meteoric rise to his shocking fall from grace, from law and crime, this is the rise and fall of Diddy. Listen to the rise and fall of Diddy exclusively with Wondery Plus.
Have you ever gotten a message out of the blue? Maybe you ignore them. Or maybe you end up in conversation. Maybe they tell you about an amazing offer. I can really show you how to make some money. And maybe that gets you into a lot of trouble. But this isn't a story about people like you, the people receiving these messages. This is a story about the people behind the messages, on the other end of the line. Thousands of them, working in a microcity built for scammers. From Wondery, the makers of Dr. Death and Kill List, comes Scam Factory, a new series about survival at the expense of others. Follow Scam Factory on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Scam Factory early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah.
So, he chose to concentrate on baseball, and I guess the Braves, he was out playing tennis one day with his friend, and he's so fucking, in his book, he talks about how I was playing tennis with my friend who's on the high school team, and halfway into the first game, he was telling me how that if I was on the tennis team, I'd be the best player on the team. He's much like Lex Luger when he's like, I had the third grade high jump record. Like, he's that kind of guy, like very much.
He's very over important.
He saved his field day ribbons from like the fourth grade, and he still has them. He's like, yeah, the 2x2 relay. I'm the fucking champ, baby. Blue ribbon. I mean, can't take that away from somebody. It's class of, that's 1969. I won that first grade.
What's that up there that's all rotten on the shelf? That's my 5th grade cakewalk cake.
It's pretty good. I kept it. Yeah, I saved it.
I won the cakewalk and I kept it.
It looks weird like that because I let it rot for like the first 6 months before I realized I need to throw a layer of laminate on it and really kind of, if I wanted to save it off, I mean,
I want it to
Jesus.
stick around much longer.
So it's a polyurethane kind of it's a mix. It's an alloy.
It's got a thick lacquer on it.
It's what I would like to call a plastic alloy, really. It's a mix of many different things. And so the Braves called him, the Atlanta Braves, that is, and said, hey, is Jim, because he plays basketball too, so they called his dad, and his dad talked to them. They said, is Jim interested in playing professional baseball because we're interested in drafting him?
Wow.
And he said he would love to play professional baseball. Problem is, he was playing tennis with his friend yesterday. By the way, he'd be the best player on the team if he was on the team. according to this man. And he broke his foot while he was doing that. So, broke his foot playing tennis. So, his leg is in a cast.
He's rehabbing a foot injury right now.
Yep, it's not good. So he said he was still going to get drafted somewhere, even though he's hurt. And then he sat there. He was an all-state player in his senior year, and he was playing for these traveling teams with great players and all this shit. And he ends up not being drafted at all.
Jim Leyritz was not drafted.
Undrafted completely. Yeah, undrafted.
Is that right?
So he meets a girl named Christy in the 10th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that, he had a relationship with her that lasted through the end of high school. She was a cheerleader. He was a popular athlete. It was just, it was Jack and Diane all over again.
It's too much Americana.
It's just too much in the heartland and everything. I mean, it's too much, man. So they were going to get married one day, but then after high school, they broke up because she went to Miami of Ohio, and he ended up going to Middle Georgia Junior College to play baseball.
Oh, my.
Yikes. I don't want to go to Middle Georgia for anything. That sounds rough. Middle?
At that, yeah.
No one in Georgia's like, I'll stay away from the middle part most of the time.
At that point in his life, he's got to feel like nothing's going to happen, right? You got to feel like that foot injury playing tennis fucked your whole life.
Yeah, I mean, he is one to say like I got fucked over a lot, but he's also gonna say like I'm fine and I'm gonna I'm gonna kick this thing's ass. He's that kind of guy, no matter what. Yeah. So he said there was
the Braves wanting to draft him is part of the reason he went down to Georgia.
That also, he wanted to test out his fiddle skills, I believe, at the time.
Yeah,
was in question, and he said, "I'm gonna."
If he was,
I'll challenge
on the fiddle team.
I'll challenge
the fiddle team. He'd be the first chair.
Well, again, that's where you're gonna go is down to Georgia, obviously, where you be first chair on the what is it, the Middle Georgia Junior College fiddle team. It's a tough one. The championship every year is brutal. It's just tough because you know who you're playing, so it's tough. You're like, God damn it.
Last week, Jim
how am I supposed to win?
He was dragging that wooden fiddle. This week, he's got a golden. That's really weird.
Well,
where'd he get that golden fiddle?
The college, some alumni funding, I believe, is how this all happened. Right? I think that's what it is. They're funding the program more, and that's good. If they want to win, what else do you got? How else are you going to do it? So he's down there anyway. It's a 12-hour drive to see each other, and they said they both had schoolwork and he had games and all this shit, so there's no way to really do that. So had to break up with the old girlfriend to stick to the baseball.
See you around.
Stay on the baseball path here. He attended this college. It's in Cochran, Georgia, or Corcoran, however they say it down there. I'm not sure. Or Cochran, Georgia. We don't like saying Cochran because it sounds dirty to us, so we call it Corcoran.
Sounds real filthy.
Sounds filthy. Then he transfers to the University of Kentucky after a couple of years, which is big goddamn school. That's huge. Yeah. So he played college baseball on the Kentucky Wildcats team. In 1985, he played on the team, and he said, "All right, now it's draft time." 4 years of college. Ready to get drafted, and no one drafted him again. Undrafted again. And all through college, they draft guys in college just to see if they'll come out. Never got drafted in college. Just nobody ever. Wow. No thank you. A big no thank you on Jim Leyritz. And a lot of times too, cockiness, especially back then. If you've ever seen Moneyball.
Yeah,
cockiness
everything.
Was not a deal breaker back then.
Smidge frowned upon.
No, it wasn't. Cockiness was what they wanted.
Encouraged?
If you've seen Moneyball, they sat around the table talking about how much confidence a kid has. They would look at his girlfriend to make sure his girlfriend was hot.
Yeah, but
because otherwise he's got no confidence.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
They want that. They want a kid who's going to come in, thinks his shit doesn't stink.
They want personality.
No, not that. They want a guy who can play. Who can have a slump for 3 weeks and still be like, I'm the greatest player in the world. I'll snap out of this, and then be able to snap out of it.
All right.
It's like a fighter pilot. You need a certain type of psychology for baseball because otherwise you can get in these depressive dips, and it's baseball's attrition. It's every day. It
is, yeah.
So you have to be like, what are you talking about? I'm great. Remember Billy Bean, Lenny Dykstra we talked about?
Right.
Just, I can hit that guy, no problem, even though he's throwing 100 with sliders. I got him.
Yeah. And it is, if you're not the best we've got in that position today, then I'm putting somebody else in. You lose your position, that may be the end of your career.
It's everything, man. And when you're up there at the plate, you're all alone. There's nobody to pass to.
It's just you, babe.
Everyone's staring at you. That's it.
Yeah, that's not easy.
You got to have a lot of confidence to get up there and do that. And so, back then, literally, they would look at guys' girlfriends, and if they didn't have a hot girlfriend, their stock would drop for them because that meant he didn't have enough confidence because he didn't go after the hotter women, which is crazy. Maybe that chick's pretty cool and he likes her. That's not a thing. Can't have that.
Maybe she gives a great blowy. That's not what it is.
But for this, even, I mean, she's like a popular cheerleader. He's cocky and brash. It's very odd that he wasn't drafted. It's just what they were looking for back then, an asshole. So very strange. But as a free agent, he gets signed because they got to fill out all these minor league teams. He is signed as on August 24th, 1985 as a free agent by the New York Yankees. So there you go.
They took him first.
Yeah, they signed him as a free agent. He goes to the minors. We'll breeze through that very quickly. In his first year, what he hit? He hit very well. Jesus Christ. In 1986, playing for the low single A and the regular single A team, he hit .344 that year.
Wow.
So, I mean, he came in cocky. 87 in Fort Lauderdale single A ball. He hit .308 with 6 homers, 51 RBI. Not bad. This is in 102 games. Double A, 1988, he played in 112 games, and he had a .241 average. Double A is hard. Double A is the biggest. That's the biggest leap in baseball, to go from single to double A. Double A is where all the talent is. Triple A is like a way station. You go there on the way up, on the way down. Guys who are like older 4A guys, things like that. But the double A is like all of the good prospects are there, so there's really good pitching there. It's harder to hit. So he does that. The next year, though, on the same team in double A, he hits .315.
Oh.
.315 with a .423 on base percentage. So that's,
dear Lord,
that's really good. I mean, that's impressive. You're looking at that guy hard. So the next year they bring him up to AAA, Columbus, and AAA in only 59 games. He hits .289, 8 homers. I mean,
it's time for the majors. Yeah,
guy's hitting, man. I mean, he hits. That's it. You know, shit. He also has some problems also. His attitude causes him issues for a long time. Well, in 1988, as a result of that, I don't know when it was filed, but as a result of the 1988 season when he was with Albany Colony there in Double-A, the team's 14-year-old bat boy filed a $6 million suit against Leyritz, alleging that he's bullied him all throughout the 1988 season.
Holy shit.
The 14-year-old bat boy, dude.
$6 million bullying suit?
Bullying
what the
suit.
fuck could he have done?
Nick Bouchain is the guy's name. He claimed that Leyritz stuffed him headfirst into a garbage can.
That'll do it.
Well, then dropped the can onto a cement floor, hurting him, sprayed ice cold water on him at that point. And this is among other different things, but that was the most physically egregious action. He later dropped the lawsuit, which because he didn't file it till I think 1994, but the Yankees ended up repaying his medical bills and his $15 a game salary that he sat out. So they gave him his medical bills and like an extra $200. Here you go, Chief.
Told him to go on his own way.
It's not $6 million, but
it's we'll get close. We'll get as close as we can.
Oh man. So he's fine. In 1990, after 59 games of playing well, that's kind of up and down, but he gets called up to the New York Yankees. Here we go.
Fascinating, yeah.
This, for me as a kid growing up in New York would have been a dream, but
it's a big deal. Yeah.
As a baseball player, to be on the Yankees in the late 80s and early 90s was not a spectacular dream. It was a hellhole. Yeah. It was an owner who was like getting suspended from being the owner all the time and doing all sorts of weird shit. And managers were being fired left and right. There's no consistency. Team was a mess. That's my childhood Yankee team.
It's a lot of fun though.
It was a lot of fun. And every once in a while you get some good players. Like by 87 you had like Ricky Henderson, Don Mattingly, Dave Winfield. I was like, man, that's a dream lineup, Love those guys. 1990, God, I probably watched out of 162 games in 1990, I probably watched at least 100 games that year. Like, I was obsessed with the Yankees, and in the summer when you're a kid, like, you'd go run around and during the day and shit, and then the games are at night, and then you just sit around in a summer night watching the Yankee game. Like, that's what you did as a kid when I was a kid. So that's what I did anyway. A lot of kids didn't, but me, I liked it. So the Yankees suck this year. They have two managers. They fire Bucky Dent. Bucky Dent was their manager. He went 18-31. And they also had Stump Merrill, who, I don't know if you remember Stump Merrill. Stump Merrill. He went 49-64. Total of 67-95.
Yikes.
For dead last in the AL East. And I watched everyone. I'm just like, God, we fucking suck a dick.
Dead last.
I think this was the year, we've talked about this, where Andy Hawkins threw a no-hitter and we lost 4-0 or 4-1. It was that bad. Because Leyritz was in that game. I want to say he made one of the errors. I'm not sure. Out in the outfield, he was playing like right field or something. But, what a disaster. Fucking mess. Even the attendance, like the Yankees didn't even have good attendance. Only 2 million people attending that year.
For the year?
For the year. They were 8th of the 14 teams in the American League then.
Oh, man.
And you have to know, too, attendance didn't spike until 98. Until the home run race with Sosa and McGuire. That's when baseball attendance went through the roof. Before that, there was only a few teams that really, really drew a lot and crushed, and sold out. So this 90 team, Yankee team, God damn it, I can remember being outside, like with my wiffle ball and bat, like going through the lineup, being every guy in this lineup, pretending doing different stances as a child here, catching Bob Guerin catching. God, he sucked. Jesus, Bob Guerin sucked. Bob Guerin, and they had Matt Noakes also at that point, who crushed it, hit like 47 home runs in Detroit the year before, comes over here and hits 238 with 8 home runs. I was like, what the fuck happened to this guy? He was so good.
Is he sick? Somebody check on him.
That's what it felt like. Like he was sick. It was that fucking bad. Don Mattingly at first base, who's my, as a child, my favorite athlete.
He can do no wrong.
I fucking loved him. He was all injured, though, at this point. His back was trashed. Yeah, his back was all fucked up this year. Steve Sachs, we just gotten from the Dodgers. He was okay. Alvaro Espinoza, oh, my God. At shortstop.
Syllables.
Oh, I remember Alvaro Espinoza. He couldn't hit his body weight, but he had a fucking cannon of an arm from shortstop. I mean, he could be falling away in the hole and fucking throw 95 miles an hour to first base. He was awesome. Jim Leyritz on that team. Oscar Azokar. Oh, my God. He was a rookie, I believe, that year. Came out hitting fucking balls. He was like hitting 350 for a while, and then he fell off, and then he just went away and never heard of him again. Roberto Kelly in center field, who I loved. Loved Roberto Kelly, man. He was really good, but he had the unfortunate. I remember watching an afternoon game. I think it was against Toronto when I was a little kid, and it was his first game. And I remember being like, "It's a debut for this guy, young man today." I remember that very clearly. And then he, unfortunately for him, Bernie Williams came on the team a few years later, and goodbye Roberto Kelly at that point.
Did Roberto Kelly go to Toronto after that?
I think he was, where was he? Cincinnati, I want to say, for a while. I see him I see him with red on. And then I think he was also on Toronto at some point too.
So too, yeah.
He kicked around for a while here. Jesse Barfield on that team. Jesus Christ. He came from Toronto, was supposed to be really good, and hit 246 this year. And
God damn it.
Cannon of an arm from right field, though. Cannon. And then finally, Steve Balboni with the DH, and we've all seen, who's a very large man who's bald with a mustache and looks like somebody's father who owns a pizza restaurant, not a professional baseball player. Rounding it out, some alumni on the team. Mel Hall also on that team.
Boy.
The aforementioned Matt Noakes, Randy Velarde, Mike Blowers, Deion Sanders on this team up and down.
There you go.
Remember that a lot. Rick Cerrone. This is for old Yankee fans here. Luis Polonia. Kevin Moss, who came up this year as a rookie. He hit 24 home runs before the All-Star break as a rookie. We were like, here he is.
Look at this.
Here's our guy.
One. Yeah.
Mattingly was injured. He came in at first base and was like the savior, and then just went
shit the bed.
Yeah. Not 24 home runs, but he had a shitload of home runs. I don't remember how many, but it was a good amount of home runs. Hensley Mullins. Oh, baby. Oh, Hensley.
2 last names. Jesus.
Hensley Mullins. He was supposed to be amazing and didn't do shit. Oh, Hensley. Hensley Mullins broke my fucking heart, man. Hensley, you broke my heart. You broke my heart, Hensley Mullins. Pitching quickly, got Greg Cadaret, who sucked ass. Pascual Perez, who we kept waiting for to not be injured anymore, and then he barely pitched and he was gone again. I don't know. Mike Witt, Jeff Robinson, Lee Guterman. Oh, God, these pitchers suck. Andy Hawkins, who threw a no-hitter and lost. Mark Leiter, not Al Leiter, Mark Leiter. Tim Leary, who must have dropped a bunch of acid, and that's why he pitched so poorly. I'm not sure. Anyway.
This is a bad lineup.
It's not good. That's why they were 67 and 95 that year.
There's no star. I mean, obviously you've got Mattingly,
but he was injured all the time.
Yeah, there's no star.
It's bad.
Playing.
It's not bad. It's not good, dude. It's not a good team. And I sat there watching the whole thing going, maybe it'll get better. Never got better. Never got better. So that's about as much real sports as we'll talk in this one. I just had to. That's some. If you grew up in that era in New York, you were very sad too. And all of those names bring both the twang of nostalgia and also pain to your heart all at once. Can't help it. He had Hensley Mullins, baby, hurting Hensley.
Jesus Christ! What a bad fuck. The whole group of them. There's not, and Mattingly then too at the end. That's the end?
No,
right?
That's the middle. He just had a bad back injury. You know, that was out of his peak.
He didn't have like anything big after that.
No,
right?
84 to 89 is his peak where he hit fucking 300 plus every year and led the league in doubles and did all that shit. And tons of homers. And then he hurt his back really fucking bad. And this is the time where like 90, 91, he's just all fucked up. And then after that, he's good sometimes, but he has like a different stance every day. He has to Mattingly begins after this point just doing whatever stance doesn't hurt that day.
Oh, no.
Literally, you'll see him one day because he had a very particular stance, and he'd explode on the ball he looked like a snake that was pouncing on something, and he'd just strike. And after that, though, he would sometimes his back would be all stiff in the box. Sometimes he'd be standing up, leaning back. You're like, what the fuck is this stance?
Who is this guy?
That's what hurt the least amount that day.
Fascinating.
But he went out and played anyway. I mean, nobody play through that shit now. They would sit down. If they can't get into their stance, they'd be like, hurts to get in my stance, and they'd sit the fuck down until they got better.
About it.
Yeah. But he wanted to play. That's how he is. So that's why I like Mattingly. And also I like Mattingly because he was a pain in the ass to management. He was always arguing with Steinbrenner about the length of his hair, about his contract, shit like that. His sideburns, stuff like that they'd argue about. It was fun. So the bat twirl that Leyritz does, every at bat, every ball that's pitched, he'll back out of the box and he'll do this little bat twirl. He'll hold the ball in the middle and kind of twirl it like a baton.
Yeah.
Does it every goddamn pitch. So it annoys people that don't like him, obviously.
Yeah.
He says the bat twirl, I picked that up watching Mickey Rivers, who is a fucking great old Yankee center fielder from the 70s, and he played a bunch of places. He said, watching the ball into the glove, Pete Rose did that, and I've always done it when watching the pitch go into the glove if he takes it, like watching the ball the whole way. And Mattingly used to do that too. He would get his face like 3 inches from the ball watching it. And it was almost like I looked at it closer than you, so if I didn't swing at it, it's not a strike. And psychologically, I think it worked. I really do. Mattingly did not strike out a lot, so maybe that's what it was. So he said, quote, I know it bothers people. When I first came up, guys got all over me from other dugouts. I think it's why I've got hit by 13 pitches my first year. That's a lot.
13,
in the first year. But I've been doing it for 4 years. This is later, and I think I've been accepted now, and that's a nice feeling. Okay. He talks about later on, he'll be on Opie and Anthony, and he'll bring up in like 2006, he'll talk about using greenies, which we discussed in detail in the Doc Ellis episode here. Was it Dexamil? Was that the name of it?
Yeah. And something else with a mean at the end.
Yeah, so that's the speed is what the players were taking.
Dexamil was the brand, right?
Yeah, that was the name of the actual drug that was being made. So Jim Leyritz said, quote, I can remember my first amphetamine. Oh, boy, that sounds... Doesn't that sound... That sounds like I can remember my first kiss, or I can remember, I remember my first blowjob, anything. My first hayride, my first
amphetamine.
I remember my first amphetamine. Oh, it was a gorgeous night sitting down with my mom and my dad and my brothers and sisters, watching the fireworks on the 4th of July, and,
Amphetamine.
eating some corn on the cob and a burger off the grill that my dad whipped up. And
what a fascinating sentence, Jim.
Then we all took a bunch of speed and really tripped out on those fucking fireworks, buddy. I'll tell you what. It was something. He said, quote, I was out all night drinking with Andy Hawkins and some of the guys on the team. I was a young player. This is 1990. This is rookie year. He said, I came in. I was hungover, sleeping by my locker. Not good as a rookie. You don't want to be sleeping in the locker room as a rookie. That makes you look bad. All of a sudden, Don Mattingly comes up to me and said, hey, you're in the lineup. Like, hey,
you
dumb
wake
shit.
up, motherfucker.
Which normally, honestly, a lot of guys wouldn't tell a rookie that. They'd let him get in trouble. But Mattingly, that was actually a nice move to go, hey, brother, you're in the lineup. You better, chop, bitch, get in the shower or something. He said, I went, what? And he goes, yeah, I just hurt my back. So that's why Mattingly hurt his back. So he goes, you're putting you in the lineup. This actually isn't true, though, because in this game that he's talking about, Mattingly played first base and he played third base. So he's mixed up on those things.
Perhaps it's the amphetamines, James.
Well, it's the amphetamines, and all the days probably blend together also in these games. And some other time Mattingly came up to him and said, hey, you're in the lineup. I just hurt my back. And he was like, oh, shit. But not the first time he took.
Isn't it fun when a guy that tells you an amazing story about his first? This is why I remember it, because Don Mattingly told me that I'm taking his spot. But we can check that, Jim.
And we examine it and we go, no, you're completely fucking, you're all fucked up on this, Jim.
Perhaps you were taking amphetamines before and you.
Well, this is also, people's memories suck. Everyone, just because you could see, all of us, we can see it in our head happening. That doesn't mean it happened. Your brain does shit that you don't understand. You can't, just because you don't know you forgot doesn't mean you forgot. Right. That's the thing, and we all do that. That's why there's something called the Mandela effect, which is just, I'm delusional, and I think that my memory is better than, rather than, my memory being wrong, I think there's an alternate parallel universe where
other things happen that didn't happen.
where the fucking Raisin Bran son had sunglasses. I know that happened because I've seen it, so I know it was real. I know just the Sinbad was in the Genie movie and all that.
Right.
No, you don't. You don't. And it becomes like a joke where people are like, I totally know I saw it. Stop doing that. That's what. Stop. No one's laughing. It's just annoying.
I swear I saw it.
And you're ruining reality for everyone else. Please stop.
You didn't see it.
Not that our listeners do that, but pass that on to anyone who you might do this in your life, because our listeners are too smart for that. Yes, they know. So he said, now I'm walking around going, I don't know how I'm going to do this. There's no way that I can go play this game today. I ran into my teammate who knew I had some of the little helpers, as they called them. He said, who I knew had some of the little helpers. He said, take one of these. It should help. It'll take the edge off. So sure enough, I took one, and he goes, okay, you can take 2, but no more than 2. So I popped one more, and I went out and went 3 for 4 with 2 homers.
Holy shit. They work.
So they get you. That's why, remember I said in the Doc Ellis episode, afternoon games are the reason why amphetamines are in baseball. Guys are drunk and they have to be able to hit a baseball in the sun when it's 92 degrees at 1 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. Not good.
Will Clark wore those sunglasses because he was drunk.
He was drunk. Didn't want you to see it. So apparently this game that he's referencing, they did some research. It's June 30th, 1990 against the White Sox. He went 3 for 5 with 2 home runs and 4 RBI. So he was right about that.
Wow, he did it.
But Mattingly was playing first base, so that wasn't right there. So other times, too, I didn't know they did this. Jason Grimsley, later on when he was testifying, I think before Congress and doing the Mitchell report stuff, he said that some teams would add this shit to add the greenies to coffee, and there would be coffee and it would be marked leaded or unleaded for if it has greenies in it or not. Right. And that's how that worked. And he said, this is Leyritz, quote, that's usually where the greenies came in handy. After a good night out, we had McDonald's and a greenie and we were good for 9 innings.
Holy shit, man.
Yeah, that's not what guys do now in baseball.
No.
They go out and shit, but they have night games and they're all, they have like their
staggered and
these teams
to have some fun.
These teams also prepare like healthy meals for them. They know that's what they're eating. They're young guys. They're going to go out and eat McDonald's if we let them. Let's put food out. But some of the teams are doing that as late as I can, 90s, 2000s, I know.
Really?
Yeah. Rod Beck, when he was playing for the Cubs, he said they were so fucking cheap. They'd have, on day games, you'd come in the morning and they would just have like a big pile of McDonald's there. They just have like a bunch of Egg McMuffins and shit that you could have like cold and sitting on the table. And they're like, what the fuck is that? Whereas he said like the Red Sox and the Giants would have like, steak and eggs and shit, whatever, really good food, and after the game there'd be seafood and shit, and so the Cubs would give you the Cubs, it was like, he goes, it might as well have been wax paper sandwiches, like a fucking lunchbox from the 60s. He goes, it was really weird. They were so fucking cheap. Well, they were so cheap they made the president buy a ball to get an autograph from Sammy Sosa.
Is that right?
Yeah, the goddamn equipment guy wouldn't give him a ball unless somebody coughed up $5. That's how cheap the Cubs are. It was 98 season, and Bill Clinton came in the locker room to meet Sammy Sosa and everybody and all that shit. And he said, "Hey, can I have a ball?" And they made a Secret Service guy dig into his pocket and find $5 to get for these balls they wanted. It's crazy.
No, it's policy, sir.
It's wild, man. The players too. They'd have to if they were giving away jerseys, they'd have to pay for them. That shit would come out of their salary on the Cubs.
Shit.
It was wild. Whereas other teams, there you go.
Who gives a shit? Yeah,
they didn't care.
Write-off.
The Cubs, he said, just very cheap back then. So Jim this year plays in 92 games. Pretty good for a rookie. That's damn fine, actually. 339 plate appearances, and he hits .257, 5 homers, 25 RBIs, and he's kind of he plays a little third, a little first, a little outfield, catches now and then. He's a good, versatile guy to have. Yeah, somebody needs a day off, you can plug him in there.
And he's useful.
He's useful, exactly. No, he's good to have around. Makes $100,000 that year.
Not bad.
Not bad. Yeah, 1990, damn good salary. 1990,
great.
Not for baseball. Yeah, no. Compared to everybody else back then, it was great, but not for baseball. 91 Yankees, still terrible. 71-91 this year.
Okay,
not good under old Stump Merrill. Jesus Christ, the man's name is Stump. So at this point too, his dad is like, he bought a satellite dish when Jim made the majors so he could see every one of his games, and he tapes them all and watches them, and then can tell Jim what he's doing wrong. So Jim said, quote, he sits down in the basement probably until 2 or 3 in the morning watching tapes. He probably knows me best of anybody.
He watches more tape than I do.
Than him, than the coaches, than anybody. It's fucking crazy. This year, Jim only plays in 32 games, has 91 plate appearances, hits .182 with no homers, 4 RBI. They really
what the fuck happened?
They don't really put him in very much that year. He's not, not really in that much. He makes $135,000 though.
Okay.
And he's a Yankee technically, so that's good. 92, 76, and 86, still bad. God damn, this was painful as a child. Oh, fuck.
A few miles from the glass spires of Midtown Atlanta lies the South River Forest. In 2021 and 2022, the woods became a home to activists from all over the country who gathered to stop the nearby construction of a massive new police training facility, nicknamed Cop City.
At approximately 9 o'clock this morning, as law enforcement was moving through various sectors of the property, an individual, without warning, shot a Georgia State Patrol trooper.
This is We Came to the Forest, a story about resistance.
The abolitionist mission isn't done until every prison is empty and shut down.
Love and fellowship.
It was probably the happiest I've ever been in my life.
And the lengths we'll go to protect the things we hold closest to our hearts. Follow We Came to the Forest on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can binge all episodes of We Came to the Forest early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
In the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this White Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles.
A big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud.
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
But they're getting better.
Well, this is the first year of Buck Showalter, so at least there's a direction they're going in this after this. Like at
Buck
least
brought him 20 more wins.
Yeah, at least there's like I said, you feel like okay, they've acquired people. There's a direction. After this, they got like Paul O'Neill and a couple of pieces that were really good. Bernie Williams came up now, and he came up in earlier, 91, I want to say. So anyway, this year though, 76 and 86. This is the thing about Leyritz. His attitude really becomes a problem. They always say that he's always, there's a lot of like little unwritten rules of baseball he breaks based on his cockiness and shit like that. Leyritz says, quote, there aren't many guys, he said this later, there aren't many guys who would still be around if they'd done some of the things I've done. It's very rewarding. It's one of those things that a lot of people would like to say they did. I did it my way and it worked. I go home smiling every night because of that. That's fine. Problem with that is when you're not exactly what somebody wants anymore, when you lose 10% of your abilities, then nobody wants you around anymore. That's the problem. Whereas the guys who everybody likes, harder to cut that guy. You know what I'm saying?
And a guy that's got 10% to spare too. You know what I mean? Like if you're really good and you're likable, you know what I mean? That's fantastic. That's what you want it to be.
Many guys have made teams and not been cut and stayed around the league a couple extra years because they're quote good for the clubhouse. The good clubhouse guy. He's practically a coach on the field, and he talks to the young guys, and there's always a role sometimes for guys like that. So, but not if you're an asshole. That's the problem.
If you're a jerk and you're losing a step, it's so easy to get rid of you.
It's what it is. Well, in 1991, he was down in Columbus for a little while, and he was actually suspended, quote, because of his attitude. So he was such a dick. Coming back down to the minors, he couldn't handle it. Apparently, it seems like so. He had a real fucking big league attitude with everybody, and they were like, "Hey, Chief, you got to carry your bag and ride the bus like the rest of us, asshole. I don't know who you think you are."
Suspend you for it.
Yep. He would say that publicly that when he's on the Yankees, he should be playing more. This is when he said like they let Gary Sheffield play, and look what he's doing. Well.
Hang in there. Gary Sheffield will get better, too.
You seen Gary Sheffield swing a bat, man? It's wild. Watch him slap that thing back and forth with his wrist and then take a cut and then tell me you can do that, too. I don't think so.
That's a solid fucking man, too. That's a lot of man.
That is, his swing is just fucking brutal. It was beautiful to watch because it's absolute brutality. I mean, he's whipping that bat around with the strong-ass wrists and then just taking a cut. You got to love Gary Sheffield on the field. He's great. Mm-hmm. So he says, though, he doesn't apologize for shit, but he says his attitude is better now. He's becoming more team-oriented because he got a new agent, and he thanks his new agent for helping him clear his head.
Oh.
Yeah, his agent said, hey, if you want to play, you should probably not be a dick.
Yeah,
so,
and that guy has interest in you playing because that makes him money.
Exactly. The other thing is his stupid little hip shake when he digs into the box too. He does this little hip shake. He thinks he's hot shit. This guy. It's pretty fucking funny here.
Jim.
It's ridiculous. But he says though it's all because he idolized Pete Rose. He said, quote, I wanted to be like him ever since the first day I saw him play. He didn't have much talent, but he made himself a great player. I just loved everything about him. People called him a hot dog, but look at the way he played. Always 110%. To me, that's the way you should play. Part of the problem with baseball is that people get too caught up in the little things that shouldn't matter. The things I do, I don't do them to show anybody up or to be a hot dog. That's just my style.
I hate that he keeps using that word.
Hot dog. Be a hot dog. He said, Once you get termed being uncoachable, it's going to hurt you. I did things my own way and had success with it. I'd grown up watching Rose and Ken Griffey and the way they went about hitting. Ken Griffey Sr. he's talking about. Yeah. I didn't go along with some things hitting coaches wanted me to do, and that might have gotten me into trouble. So I would say so. But Showalter also said at the time, just looking at him, a guy who could catch and swing the bat as well as he did, I couldn't believe he was a guy who'd gone unnoticed. He's like, Buck wanted him on the team there. He said that he said that he understood that Leyritz turned people off and, kind of pissed him off a little bit. He said, quote, I don't think there's anything malicious about Jimmy. He's not an asshole, but he's an asshole. Not on purpose. And he's never shied away from the ramifications of anything he's said or done. The only thing I've ever tried to get across to Jimmy is to make sure he looks at the big picture. I know he's made an effort to approach things professionally with some more maturity now. So he's good now. He's good now.
Yeah.
Going to do it here. He said at the time, Leyritz, about it, quote, I had some blowouts with teammates. I felt pretty much alienated from the whole team. When I got sent back to Columbus that year, it was the best thing that could have happened, even though he got suspended because of his attitude. Yeah. That's weird. He said, I'm sure those guys never expected to see me again, but by September, I was back, and it had gotten better from there. So he said that, he compared his situation to that of Gary Sheffield, saying that if he were freed from the Yankees the way Sheffield was from the Brewers, the result might be similar. So Sheffield ended up going somewhere else. Where did he go? San Diego. Yeah. So he's saying if the Yankees just let me go, I'd obviously slide right into a starting spot for somebody and probably hit 40 home runs, I assume, right?
Send me somewhere else and let me thrive.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. He said, quote, I knew some things I've said would get me into trouble, but I didn't want to be 40 years old and feel like I hadn't done everything possible to make sure I'd gotten a chance. Some things I said were designed to get the Yankees to do something. And rather than trade him, they just send him down, though. That's the thing. They don't care that much. That year, 92, he plays in 63 games, hits .257, 7 home runs. So a little better. He makes $126,500. So
I had no idea Jim Leyritz was so low paid.
Yeah, in his whole career, we'll get to the total at the end, but it's not a lot if you consider a baseball player through this era.
And the name. I mean, if you've watched baseball in this era, you know his fucking name. You know who that guy is. He was
he's around.
He would be a baseball household name.
He was around everywhere. He played on World Series games quite a bit. That's why he was on big stages. Nothing. Now, he ends up with a woman named Carrie. He's married and then divorced here from somebody in this beginning period. Okay. And then he ends up with a woman named Carrie, Karri. And they're going to go through a bunch of shit here. She said that they were both in, quote, when we met, we weren't the happiest people in the world. We were both in marriages where the other spouse didn't want children, and we've been lucky with Austin and Dakota. That's the kids they have. He doesn't name the kids juniors, but he names them all like Western places. Austin, Dakota, and later on he'll have Phoenix. Austin, Dakota, and Phoenix are his kids' names. Yes.
What the fuck?
Likes Western shit. They met at a country Western place. He was at a country bar in Fort Lauderdale. Oh, God.
A country Western bar in fucking Fort Lauderdale?
If anybody ever wants to kidnap and torture me, kidnap me, take me directly to Fort Lauderdale, and make me go into a country bar in Fort Lauderdale. I will find something to cut my wrists with. I promise you that. I will bleed out in that motherfucker before the end of the first song. It's happening.
He loves it, obviously, because he's smiling enough to make somebody else impressed.
He said later on, they still dance to John Michael Montgomery's I Love the Way You Love Me, which was their wedding song. Christ.
It's a good country ballad, James.
Oh, Jesus Christ. And she thinks, though, the kids soften Jim up, and he's a different guy. He's a different guy, Jimmy. It's all good. He's good now.
I love John Michael Montgomery.
Oh, God. I don't like that name. That just sounds like a hillbilly to me. John Michael Montgomery. I'm like, no, thank you.
His brother is the guy in Montgomery Gentry, and Gentry's dead.
Man,
Gentry died in a helicopter crash.
Oh, Jesus. Sounds like he wears a big hat.
He does. He's a big fucking guy with a big fucking hat.
If you wear a big hat, you're not allowed to die in a helicopter crash. You have to travel by by grain thresher. That's how you have to travel. I'm sorry. You have to die in like a tractor explosion. That's the only way I'll accept it. You can't have a big giant dumb cowboy hat on and then be like, I'm traveling by helicopter. No, you're not. No, you're not, cowboy. Don't you have a herd to drive? What the fuck are you talking about?
Gentry wasn't that guy. Gentry was the little guy that he looked like the dark-haired guy from Siegfried and Roy.
No hat?
No hat.
None at all?
I never saw that guy wearing a hat. Montgomery wore the hat. These are a big fucking hat.
Wow. I'm wearing a big hat. You wear no hat. That's our band. Huh? I want to wear a hat, too. Nope.
Nope, it's just me.
I'm wearing enough hat for both of us, okay?
That's what happened.
Enough hat for the two of us right here.
That's what happened. But also Montgomery's bald, so he has to wear a big fucking hat to cover up his stupid head. And it's not like bald on purpose. That's nature, babe.
It's just not going well up there, huh?
Not good at all.
Not good. Jesus. So, 93 Yankees, 88 and 74, getting better.
Okay.
Getting better. Buck Showalter helped turning it around. The Jim Leyritz plays in 95 games, which that's solid right there.
Really?
Has 259 at bats, hits 309 with 14 homers, 53 RBI. So that's a good that's a good off the bench year right there. Not bad at all. Good shit.
What do you make?
$152,000.
Some upper management salary for that.
That's crazy. Yeah,
that's
for him,
amazing.
14 home runs in the major leagues in Yankee Stadium.
Got paid the same as a guy that has like 4 QTs that he checks on every week.
There's just some corporate middle manager back then, you know? Fuck, that's rough.
Somebody that harps on 4 managers for their reports every week.
All the time. But he'll get a little bit more next year. He'll get a little bump because he's assigned a major league contract as opposed to this minor league deal he's got where he's kind of got prorated when he goes up and down. 94 Yankees. This is the strike shortened year, by the way.
Right.
This year, they were 70 and 43.
Oh, God, it was going so great.
They were in first place in the AL East.
Oh, shit.
This was the first time I ever remember this being a thing since I was alive. So I was very mad when they went on strike. They're finally fucking good and they're on strike now. I was so fucking mad. Them and the Expos were the best in the National League. Think about that. Yeah, absolutely. So Yankees were good this year on the way up. He plays in 75 games, which, I mean, you know, that's a lot of them anyway. 75 games, hits 265 with 17 home runs, 58 RBIs. So that's something there. Makes $742,500 that year.
How did he manage?
He have a new contract.
Weird contract.
Major league deal. That's pro.
Oh, so it's a new one. Got it.
It's a new deal.
Yeah. It's not like the end of his salary. They bump him to like something
balloon
giant.
Payment. Give him the old balloon payment. 95 Yankees, 79-65 and 1. They finish second, but they go to the playoffs on the wild card there and play the goddamn fucking Mariners that year. We'll get into that in a second. Jim that year plays in 77 games, hits 269, 7 homers, 37 ribbies, so he's a solid off-the-bench guy. In Game 2 of the American League Divisional Series against Seattle, Leyritz hit a 2-run walk-off home run in the 15th inning, giving the Yankees the win.
God.
It was pretty good.
Exhausting day. Yeah.
Yeah, that was when Yankee fans were like, who the fuck is this guy? We love Jim Leyritz. Like, we knew who he was. He was around a few years, but made us, like him. That was the one where Tim Belcher, the pitcher for the Mariners, was just fucking yelling at a cameraman who was filming him walking through the tunnel to the clubhouse. He was like, get the fuck out of my fucking... Yeah, he was screaming at him like it was like a wrestling promo with cursing. It was crazy.
Dude, you gave up a 2-run walk-off in the 15th.
Yeah.
Nobody blames you. It's fine. We just want to see what your face looks like.
In baseball, they don't ever have cameras there. And this was like, the playoffs on Fox. We're going to have cameras, up the coach's mother's ass and see what she thinks about it. Things like that.
Polyps in his dad.
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to look around. We're going to look around the hitting coach's colon and see why the team's only hitting 243 this series. That's what's
Hell yeah.
happening. So anyway, so Leyritz is a big hero, but that's the year where Randy Johnson ends up closing that last game, and it's just a fucking nightmare. This is also Don Mattingly's last series, which is why he was retiring after this year. Yeah. He's another guy, came up when the Yankees sucked, played with them all the way up till now, retired, they win the World Series the next year. I felt so bad for him. That was bad.
And let Randy Johnson retire you. Yeah,
I fucking hated that. That series was. That still makes me mad. Anyway, Jim makes $1,350,000 this year.
Wow, look at Jimmy
doing better, Jimmy.
Yeah,
96 Yankees, 92-70, first in their division. Not bad at all. Jimmy plays in 88 games, hits 264. So the last 3 years, 265, 269, 264.
Okay.
That's what he hits. 7 home runs, 40 ribbies. This year in the ALDS, they play the Rangers and win 3-1. That one is the one game I went to, of course.
Are you bad luck for your favorite teams, too?
I went there. That was the one game they lost to the Rangers. It was a shit game, too. It was a blowout. That was when my friend parked. We went late. We were there late. And my friend we had to park like in the middle of the South Bronx somewhere. There was nowhere to park on the street. And when the game finally got over and we hung out and we left, and when we were walking out, there's nobody on the street but us. And, it's the South Bronx in 96, and we had a cop car pull up and say, "What the fuck are you two doing walking around?" Then laugh and drive away. We had that happen.
Get out of the road, dude.
Yeah,
you're in a lot of trouble.
Jesus, you're going to get killed. Enjoy. Like, thanks.
We'll be back to do the paperwork.
That's literally what it was. They laughed and drove away. It's like, this is perfect. This is a great night.
James, I just realized I've been to so many sporting events rooting for a specific team, and I don't think I've ever seen my team win.
Nah, never happens. Never happens. No.
Never.
I went to a World Series game in 2001. Yankees lost that one. The game and the series, so that was miserable. But it's good. Yeah.
I've been to several Broncos games here against the Cardinals, and they lose every time.
Unreal, right? I don't know what.
What the fuck?
Stop. Both of us need to stop. And we know that you're the
game. Yeah.
You've cursed the Suns.
God, they're never winning again if I show up.
If you try to go to a Game 7, I will break your legs in the future. You're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to go to a Game 7. Like, I want the security to have your picture up. Do not admit for Game 7. Like, we're sorry, Mr. Wisman. You're not allowed to come in here anymore on Game 7. You can be here for Game 6.
Support. Yeah.
Game 1 of the next series, no problem. Game 7, we're sorry.
Go
watch it in a bar.
Watch it on TV.
Watch it from a bar, you dumb shit.
We're taking your tickets from you.
No shit. So the next series, they win 4-1 over Baltimore. That's the one with the kid stealing the home run ball away, and that made the rule of any outside interference. It's a home run. That rule is from here. Jeffrey Meyer, I think his name was. But they won.
The kid?
I think that was the kid's name.
Wow.
But they won the series 4-1. So it's not like that was Game 7. Like, the Orioles only won one game of that series. You have to. Yeah. So don't complain. Then they go on to beat the Braves in the World Series. They were down 0-2 and then won the next 4. And I was so happy. That was great.
Boy, were those Braves good. Jesus.
Yeah, they just couldn't win that fucking World Series, though.
And that's the team that wanted to draft him, and then he got to get his revenge later.
Well, in the series, the Yankees trailed the Braves 2-1, 2 games to 1 in Game 4, and this was one. If the Braves won this game, it was going to be 3-1, and
it's hard to come back.
You can pretty much call it. You're pretty fucked at that point, and it's in Atlanta too, so that wasn't good. The Yankees lost the first 2 at home. And the Yankees are down 6-0 after 5 innings here. So,
oh, God, it looks bad.
I was watching this with my friends, and we were just getting real high, just being like, this sucks, man. Well, at least they went to the World. We were at this point literally saying, this is the first time we've got to see the Yankees, all of us, go to the World Series. This is great, So cool. But then the Yankees got 3 runs in the 6th inning. And in the 8th inning, they brought on, Atlanta had Mark Wohlers, who was their closer, come in. Yeah. And 2 runners on, 1 out, 2 on. Jim Leyritz at the plate, and Leyritz hit a fucking 3-run home run to tie the game. It was
wow.
It was a miracle, Jimmy. It was a miracle. Yeah. We all jumped. We were like, "Holy shit!" They just fucking tied the game. It was incredible. It was a goddamn miracle.
Did Wohlers go and get in his car after that pitch?
I believe he did. No, he just walked right off. No, that was to tie the game.
Yeah.
And so that was a big deal. And then the Yankees won that game 8-6 in 10 innings to tie the series. And then in Game 5, he played because he was Andy Pettitte's personal catcher. He always caught Andy Pettitte's game. And they ended up winning in 6. I remember Charlie Hayes catching that last ball. It was beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, he wins, and he makes that year $1,470,000. He's a hero. I went to the Yankee parade. He was a fucking hero. He was, I mean, it was like Jeter was a rookie that year. It was Jeter, a couple of the big guys, and it was motherfucking Jim Leyritz. He comes to the front of a float. It was, hey, that guy who did it. Yay.
Jim Leyritz.
Beloved. I mean, ticker tape falling on him while 3 million people went to that parade, Jimmy. 3 million people cheer you in the streets. Grace. Grace. That parade was like they just beat the Germans in a fucking world war. That's how crazy that parade was. Grace.
And Jim had a sniper shot on Hitler.
Oh, and he did it, man. Took him right out. Dead between the eyes. Bullseye on Hitler.
Unbelievable.
Right in the mustache. He got him. So that's Grace. Now, it's quickly downhill from here that we've set the scene. December 5th, 1996, he's traded by the Yankees. We were like, what? No. They traded him. I guess his value is never going to be higher, so they traded him.
Great point, yeah.
To the Angels for a player to be named later.
Just take him. We'll figure it out another time. We'll sort it out later.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. You'll give us somebody. I don't know. So, Jim, there are some people that are disappointed in New York, a few fans and a bunch of foster children, because Jim and his wife used to bring a bunch of foster children to see games at Yankee Stadium, like orphans and, sick kids and shit like that. They'd have whole groups of them going to the stadium that he would pay for or whatever. They were like his sponsorship or whatever. So that was a big deal. And so those kids, I guess they were shit out of luck after that.
Hopefully Bernie's got a soft spot for kids that nobody wants.
Somebody who came in at Jorge Posada at catcher hopefully will help out. So 1997 then, so he plays, we'll talk about 97. He starts the year with Anaheim, but then in July at the deadline, he's traded to Texas. So for Ken Hill, the pitcher. Yeah. So he can go to Texas and have all sorts of line dancing and
it's going to be,
people with multiple, a lot of first and middle names singing songs to you. Randy Arthur Mecklenburg's big hits down there are going to be playing.
I'm convinced that everybody in country music does the same thing that comedians do, and they just use their first and middle name as their first and last
Probably,
name. I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
I'm sure it is. Them, I'm sure porn guys
Gary
do
Allen.
that.
Yeah. They do it.
Wrestlers do that sometimes, I believe. So anyway, that year, what is this, 97, he ends up hit 277 for both teams, 11 home runs, makes $1,916,972.
Fantastic.
Not bad. And then November 6th, 1997, traded by the Rangers again.
Oh, no.
Another trade to the Red Sox for Mark Brandenburg, Bill Hasselman, and Aaron Seeley, who Aaron Seeley then became for Seattle. He pitched a lot. 1998, Boston. He strolls into Boston in 98 spring training like, I'm going to be the starting catcher this year, baby.
There you go, yeah.
I did it. This is my time. And there's this big article talking about, quote, that attitude may have cost him his job.
Really?
So I guess he was told that year that basically you're just going to be like a pinch hitter, a designated hitter, against lefties and things like that. You might be an outfielder, first baseman. You're not going to catch very much this year.
Right.
And he said about that, quote, I'm completely dumbfounded by the whole thing. I thought I was coming in to get ready for April 1st, but I guess they still consider me a 19-year-old rookie and that I've got to win a job. There's probably still a few teams out there that think I can catch.
You've got a job, though.
Yeah, and you got to, every spring training they talk about, that's all. If you read old guys' books, all they talk about is every spring there's a bunch of kids in there trying to take your job. So you got to fight for it, and you got to show that that's your job, and you got to win the job every fucking year. Unless you're a Hall of Famer. Ken Griffey Jr. in 1998 doesn't have to win his job. He's starting in left field because he's going to be better than everybody.
Right.
Jim Leyritz wants to make a team. He's never been a starter in his whole career. So You want to start, you got to show them you can start, but he doesn't want to do that.
Also, Griffey can pack on pounds and still keep his job.
That's the other thing.
Fat as shit at the
end. He just looked like he could. On this bench, is he eating in there? What's happening? It looks like he's eating. He's just got nachos and a hot dog.
Does he have a dozen donuts sitting on the bench next to his nachos?
Oh, no, they're just the little Entenmann's white ones. That's what he's got, just a little sleeve of them.
You will be glad to
donuts. Little donuts.
Yeah, you will be glad to know that the concentrate of MLB whatever talent that he had running through his veins has completely dissipated with the ingestion of all that shitty food because his son was an awful athlete.
Well, I mean, hey, it's not just his genetics, you know.
Good point, yeah.
He might have went for something. He might not have really scoped. How athletic are you when he was looking for a wife, you know? What do you got here? Let's see you take a cut with this bat.
Trey didn't even play baseball. He went to football, and then he was awful, undrafted, and he signed with 3 teams that never played him ever.
That's hilarious. Didn't work out for him.
No.
So they said Jason Varitek was coming in. That's what the manager said. They liked Jason Varitek, and they wanted him to be a catcher, and Varitek, good catcher.
Holy shit, he's so good.
A little story, by the way. Varitek, when he came in, wore number 47. And then the next year, 1999, the Red Sox got Rod Beck, and Beck Rod always wore 47. So Varitek, being a second-year guy, said, "Hey, take 47. I don't care. I'm not attached to it. You take it. It's your number," and gave it to him. Which
I apologize. I'm sitting in your seat.
Yeah, a guy like that. That's a guy that a catcher who's like, "Hey, pitcher, take my number. I just want to be on the team." That's going to win out over attitude of they're treating me like I'm 19 and I got to win a job. Fuck these people. Yeah. Who do you want? If all else is equal,
39 for all I care. I don't give a shit. Yeah, that's the guy you want. Yeah.
All else is equal. What the fuck do you care? You know, it's just the way it is. So June 20th, 1998, they trade Jim and his attitude away again. Yeah. And this happens every year. He's like a trade deadline guy, and he's traded by the Red Sox with, oh my God, is that guy's name real? Holy shit. I'm going to say Ethan Faget, we'll call him.
No.
Let's call him Faget.
Let's call him Forget About It.
Faggeett.
I can't, no.
That's Faget. No. We're going Faget on that one. Ethan Faget.
That's Ethan. That's who he is.
Hey, wow. What do you think people chanted at him all through these little minor league parks with people drunk in them? Oh, boy.
Is they've shipped him to Boston too?
Traded by Boston. So okay. he gets traded to San Diego. He's a minor leaguer.
He played in Boston though.
Yeah, he's a minor leaguer. That year, Jim hits 276, 12 home runs, fucking 42 ribbies in 114 games. I mean, he's not bad.
Yeah.
But he's a pain in the ass. They don't like him. Yeah. Makes $2 million though that year.
Wow.
Not bad. 1999 starts the year with San Diego, and then July 31st, the trade deadline, 1999. He's traded by San Diego to where? The Yankees again.
He went home to die.
Yeah, the Steinbrenner will always take back a lost dog that he let out of the yard at one point. Always taking...
Yeah, and especially if they had a moment in Yankee history that matters, they're welcome there always.
That's what it is. That's the same thing. David Cohn, after he was done, and he went and pitched for the Red Sox for a year, and he had like a fucking 10 ERA. He was terrible. He was done. I mean, it was no one wanted him, but the Yankees signed him to a 1-year, $10 million contract, even though he was...
$10 million.
He was fit. No one would even sign him to a minor league deal, and they signed him to a $10 million deal, and they said it was, quote, for services rendered. That's why they don't care if he throws an inning this year. He was underpaid when he threw a perfect game back in '98 or whatever, but that's a PR moment, and everybody likes having David Cohn back, and there you go. So 99 season for the Padres and Yankees. This kind of sucks for him because 98 season, he finished out the year with the Padres, which was the year the Yankees beat the hell out of the Padres and swept them in the World Series. Okay. So he got beat up by the Yankees, and then he got to go back to the Yankees here for the 99 season, where they'll beat up the Braves in the World Series that year, the Yankees. So anyway, he hits 235 with, 8 home runs, 26 ribbies in 1999. $1.9 million he makes.
Jesus.
Not bad. June 20th, 2000, traded by the Yankees again for Jose Vizcaíno and some cash to the Dodgers.
Oh, dear Lord.
So this year he ends up hitting 209 with 2 homers, 12 RBI. He has a shoulder injury that's going to bother him forever here now. And, he
Baseball's got to be exhausting, too. Playing for San Diego, being traded, and fly all the way the fuck across the country.
Yeah.
Then them trade you, and you fly right the fuck back.
Yep, going back the other direction, back to California with all your shit. Then he'll never play another major league game after that.
It's over.
It's over with. He hit 264. Remember, what did we say? That's what he hits. He's a 264 hitter with 90 homers, 387 RBI in a grand total of 903 games. So makes $1 million that year. Altogether, he made about $10.8 million in his career, too. So a great player makes that in about a month and a half now. So that's...
Holy shit.
That's
David
wild.
Cohn got that for doing nothing.
For doing
one season.
One season of doing Ugats, and it was this season too. I think it was 2001 or 2, as a matter of fact. He had a little tear coming out of Leyritz's eye.
I had to do my whole career for that. Did he have 1 ring or 2 rings?
Leyritz, want to say, where is this? 2000? No, not the Yankees. It depends on if they gave him another ring for
being on the team for that.
For being on the team, because 2000 he was on the Yankee team, and they could vote to give him a ring.
Wow.
From the beginning of the season. So he might have 2. He was on the... Wait a second. He's on the 99 Yankees, so he has that. He definitely has 2.
Yeah,
96 and 99. Forgot all about that. And then possibly 2000 if they decided to. So I know that he has a 99 ring because there's some dispute over it later. So after this... He signs with the Newark Bears of the Independent League, Atlantic League. A lot of guys went through. Ricky Henderson was on this team. Jose Canseco was on. I remember they did like a Real Sports thing on it because there's 3 major league players playing on this team.
All at the same time?
All at the same time. Yeah, we talked about Canseco being on it. He ends up signing with the Padres, who assigned him to AAA. He never got called up to the majors that year, and he's done. 2002, his problems really begin. This is it's literally the instant he's out of baseball. He can't hold it together. Being at the park every day, center of your universe, have to stay in shape for March to get going and all that shit. Once that goes, some of these guys just...
I would say, James, that it was probably all his packing and moving, packing and unpacking.
Probably that's what did it for him. Yeah, definitely.
Once he stops packing and unpacking, then the problems start.
Starts fucking off here. Well, he drives on a suspended license. He's always got tickets and problems and suspensions and all this type of shit. So he gets caught for driving on a suspended license in June of 2002 in Florida. Okay?
Yeah.
This is also, he was speeding at that point as well. So he's speeding with a suspended license. So that's not smart. No. 2003, he wants to make a comeback with the Yankees.
Oh.
I believe they offered him an Old Timers Day spot because he was retired for a couple years. And he said, no, I want to come to spring training. And he tried to make a comeback for the Yankees, and it didn't work out, and he ended up not playing for them. And you go, why would this guy? He's been playing for Newark the last couple of years, so he thinks he's still got it. And but I mean, why be this much of a push? Why? Because I think he might need the money because he is in the middle of a really fucking contentious divorce. I mean, we're going to hear all about this crazy shit. Oh my God. These two.
What do you think he's got left? Probably $1 million of it after taxes.
I'll tell you exactly what he's got left.
God.
If you, I got his. Trust me, it's all.
Great.
It's all here. So this is a mess. This whole thing. They're fighting over custody. They're fighting with each other. They go to a counselor, and the counselor tells the court that neither of them are ideal parents. They're both fucking fuck ups, and they're both. It's wild, man. They found
the 3 kids.
Yeah, there's 3 kids here. They talk about all these instances of him verbally abusing her, even in public before. At one point, I guess, when they were fighting, he left in 2002 and took her Beanie Baby collection. He stole her Beanie. I don't know if it's stole, but he took her Beanie Baby collection. That's going to end up being like adjudicated later on. Like a judge is going to have to sit there and talk about Beanie Babies, Jimmy. This is how crazy this is. I'll take her Beanie Baby. She thinks they're worth so much.
In 2002, that craze was over too, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he's like, I'll still take that Diana bear. That's important to her.
An Independence Day bear.
It's important to her. I'm taking it.
John Michael Montgomery bear.
Oh, you got to have that one. Got to have that. It's the problem is you got to make sure not to lose the giant hat. It's worth nothing without the giant hat. Not worth a fucking thing without that hat, Jimmy. So he makes off with her Beanie Baby collection while in the middle of a divorce. He filed for divorce, claiming that she was a drug addict who neglected their 3 children.
Oh,
that's his
God.
claim in court records. So I figured I better take the Beanie Babies.
She'll snort them.
Yeah, so she doesn't neglect them too. You know how it goes. She'll break those little balls in there down and snort them right up.
She's gonna lose the hat.
Oh man, he would call her all the time during the divorce proceedings and leave her nasty voicemails. They played voicemails in court of him screaming at her on a voicemail, calling her a whore and a slut and all this shit in the court papers. I was like, oh no. This is so fucking bad. According to the court documents, quote, he repeatedly threatens the wife that he says that he intends on having her arrested and that he has no intention of supporting her or the children. In August 2003, Carrie fled the home with their children due to domestic violence. She left with only what she could fit in her Chevy Suburban truck.
Wow.
Had to flee.
You can fit a lot.
You could fit a 1-bedroom apartment in there, but, still, it's not all of her stuff. So they said, quote, the rest of the stuff he held on to and wouldn't turn over, noting her clothing, stamp collection, and more than 800 Beanie Babies were among them. I want my stamps and Beanie Babies back.
She's 19. Why is she?
19. She's fucking 30, and he's... I mean, at this point, Christ almighty, he should be a little bit... She's like 35, and she's like a 12-year-old girl. I have Beanie Babies and stamps. A 9-year-old boy, not a 12-year-old girl. A 9-year-old boy.
She's like 19, and that's like the things that she collected the last 4 years.
God damn it. Oh, my God. She gets an order of protection against Jim in September of 2003. But that October, she said she was confronted by him when he attempted to hand over court documents. She told him he was violating an order of protection, and then he went into a rage, apparently, according to the court documents. So then days later, they crossed paths again, and he cursed at her before walking away, according to the court documents. So Jim wins custody of the children eventually, which is interesting.
Really?
In the divorce papers here, he claimed that nearly all of his money had disappeared because of exorbitant taxes and a shady financial advisor. That's what he said.
No.
But as I quote this article, quote, the glimpse into Leyritz's 2003 financial records shows he spent large amounts of money on alcohol, swank clubs, and ritzy hotels in Florida, New York, and beyond.
He was traveling.
He's just pissing his money away. Yeah. Quote, the former catcher also struck out on his finances, watching more than $10 million he earned over 11 years in the majors shrink to about $600,000, the records say. So by 2003, he had $600,000 left.
Oh, my God.
That's what he had. He was
and 600 Beanie Babies.
And 800 Beanie Babies.
800.
He was, if only they were worth $1 a piece, he'd be styling. Or, I mean, $1,000 a piece, $1 a piece. So he... he's 40 years old and he's got $600,000. So he's got to consider, what am I going to do with my life here? I got to get a job, or especially if he wants to go around in swanky clubs and shit. That's not going to last long. So they say the financial records from August 2003 to December 2003, they talk about a 2-week trip to New York in October. He dropped thousands of dollars at the China Club, Tao's, Elaine's, and other night spots. He also spent more than $3,000 at the Shelburne Murray Hill Hotel.
Oh, my God.
In Florida, he blew through hundreds of dollars at liquor stores, including Fine Spirits in Cooper City. One day in August, he spent $256.23 on alcohol. He returned 2 days later to buy an additional $169.53 worth of booze. Wow. That's
so much booze.
That's a lot of booze in 2 years.
Because that's not in like a bar. That's like buying
it's in a liquor store.
Yeah, that's so much
It's
booze.
not a bar. You can get a bottle for, whatever. I mean, if he drinks like top shelf shit, that's not that. It could be not that much, but in the Florida heat, man, that's just bad.
In a bar, though, you can drink that much booze and you're drunk, but you aren't like dead. You know what I mean? If you drink good stuff, you could put $200 on a bill in a second.
No, this $256. Even if you're buying really good scotch, that's like 3 bottles of it. That's
a lot.
That's a lot. It's not bad. So during these counseling sessions that him and his wife went on, he told the counselor Joy Yaffa, who's a court-appointed therapist, quote, "My life is my children. I've had my fun. Now they're more important to me."
Okay.
That's all it is. This Yaffa recommended that Leyritz gain primary custody of his sons and said that they did say that his transition from athlete to non-athlete has not been easy for him. Right. Talking about his salary has shrank to about $40,000 a year in his first few years of retirement, mostly from autograph signings and appearances, Yankee shit. He's going to Yankee shit. Heroes of the 96 team, and it'll be him standing there next to him and Bucky Dent are going to stand there and sign your autographs because they both hit big home runs. So that's what he's making.
Oh God.
Yaffa wrote, quote, "Mr. Leyritz's individual issues centered around being able to cope with life transitions and adjusting to life without baseball. Commitment to traditional family lifestyle continued to be a major source of frustration." I would say so. He admitted to drinking 6 days a week, usually when he was playing, and using amphetamines, obviously, also HGH, obviously, clearly. And he said he tried to cut back on the booze after he retired in 2000. You can't change your entire lifestyle. I don't play ball anymore. I don't do booze anymore. It's really hard to do that. So
in the 1980s, a rosé swept the country.
Hey, Mike, I really like this white Zinfandel.
Well, good. Now put it down. We're going to try another one.
White Zin became America's top-selling wine. But most don't know that this sweet drink has a sour history. What began in 1986 with counterfeit bottles,
a big fraud, a multi-million-dollar fraud,
sent investigators chasing one of the most powerful families in the business, the Licciardis. But the closer the feds got to them, the more dangerous things became. It's a story of deceit.
At the time, I was paranoid.
Threats.
You touch my kids, I will kill you.
And murder.
With a .22 caliber bullet to the head.
What started with a scheme to mislabel wine spilled into a blood-soaked battle for succession. Welcome to Bloodvines. You can binge listen to Bloodvines exclusively and ad-free on Wondery Plus. Join Wondery Plus in the Wondery app, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify.
Behind the closed doors of government offices and military compounds, there are hidden stories and buried secrets from the darkest corners of history. From covert experiments pushing the boundaries of science to operations so secretive they were barely whispered about. Each week, on Redacted, Declassified Mysteries, we pull back the curtain on these hidden histories. 100% true and verifiable stories that expose the shadowy underbelly of power. Consider Operation Paperclip, where former Nazi scientists were brought to America after World War II, not as prisoners, but as assets to advance U.S. intelligence during the Cold War. These aren't just old conspiracy theories. They're thoroughly investigated accounts that reveal the uncomfortable truths still shaping our world today. The stories are real. The secrets are shocking. Follow Redacted, Declassified Mysteries on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcasts. You can listen to Redacted early and ad-free right now on Wondery Plus.
But he said that was the big point of contention during the custody hearings, or how much he drinks and all that kind of shit. He also has a live-in girlfriend at this time.
That's not going to last long when you have no money.
Not a lot. No, live-in girlfriends and ex-wives. This counselor wrote, quote, "Mr. Leyritz explained that during baseball season, many players, including himself, took amphetamines and would go out and drink alcohol to, quote, come down from the amphetamines." Yeah, that happens. Mr. Leyritz stated that during the off-season, he used to smoke marijuana once or 2 times per month. Well, that doesn't really matter. Twice a month you're smoking weed. I don't care. How about your everyday speed use? Yeah, right. And 6 days a week of drinking is a little worse. So Yaffa recommended that Carrie be referred to a substance abuse program also because court papers filed in the divorce here said that Carrie obtained 930 pills of Adderall, 930 pills, prescribed by 5 different doctors. That's
so she's doctor shopping.
Yeah,
That's
doctor shopping. One of whom was a podiatrist.
Oh, so a podiatrist is
a podiatrist. They can
write Adderall.
Yeah, they could write a script for anything, but usually, your attention deficit doesn't have anything to do with your feet.
Maybe she's got those
happy feet,
restless leg shit.
I was going to say, maybe she can't concentrate because her feet just keep dancing. She can't stop the dancing, and they're like, listen, get some Adderall and control those feet.
She's got so much John Michael Montgomery playing in her head.
Yeah, I can't help it. I'm line dancing standing here.
I'm electric sliding in the fucking grocery store.
I can't do it. Doctor just looks over this clipboard with his glasses. He's like, you have happy feet, ma'am. I'm sorry. It's terrible. We're going to have to subscribe. Here, you're going to have to prescribe you some Adderall for that.
Adderall.
Jesus. Credit card records submitted in the divorce show that Leyritz spent thousands at South Florida nightclubs during a 4-month period in 2003 and the last 6 months of 2002. He had $600,000 left. He also was constantly getting tickets and then not paying them. His license was suspended 4 times in this era, by the way. Wow. 4 different suspensions. It's a fucking mess. One guy here, lawyer, talks about how he's a psychiatrist or a psychologist, I apologize, Jack Singer. He talks about how he's treated former pro athletes who sank into drug use and depression. He said the big problems tend to be anger and stress because they're not being treated like the gods that they're used to. Soon you have these angry, out-of-control guys who self-medicate to get back into control. It can be dangerous if they don't seek help.
Right.
Yeah. They'd have all these arguments, him and his wife. At one point, they were fighting in bars and restaurants and all this type of shit. Everybody knew, he was screaming at her in public, saying crazy shit. Also, I guess a witness to one of the couple's arguments told police that Leyritz punched a man in a Pembroke Pines bar, but he wasn't ever charged for it. Mm-hmm. So, the therapist in the divorce proceeding said Mr. Leyritz stated that both he and Mrs. Leyritz led a partying lifestyle. Jesus Christ. They eventually recommended after Jim's the primary residential parent, but they share it's joint custody. So at this point, they were unemployed, both the Leyritzes, yet they would frequently place the children in after-school daycare, and Carrie left them with babysitters, according to a custody evaluation in the transcript of a hearing before the divorce judge. Teachers reported that the children were all often absent when in Carrie's care, and when they did attend, they did not have lunch or were missing socks or wore disheveled or torn uniforms.
What the fuck?
So she's having her own problems, this Carrie, obviously, according to this psychologist or whatever, court documents. The judge here in the case also admonished the Leyritzes to spend more time with their children.
Uh-huh.
The judge had to tell them that. Quote, to me, if 2 parents aren't working and both of them are posing as incredibly involved parents, then go get your kids.
Yeah.
Go fucking hang out with them then.
Yeah.
He said, Carrie, I guess, said the children spend equal time with both parents after all this. They began to settle into a routine. She ended up saying, he's a great father, and that's really all. Obviously, we didn't get along as husband and wife, but you have to come to an understanding. Right. This understanding they came to in 2003 was when he was arrested for aggravated stalking of her. Yeah, that was a problem.
Aggravated stalking, does that mean he's armed probably?
I don't know what the hell that would be. I don't know if that's been warned away from it or anything. I don't know. Up in the ante somewhat here. But it doesn't end up, the prosecutors dropped the case on the day of the trial was supposed to begin, amid the different contradictory witness statements and shit like that. So, but aggravated stalking, that's not good. That doesn't look good on the record.
No, it doesn't.
Somehow, in 2004, after all this, he gets a job on the New York City ESPN radio affiliate here.
Really?
Also on MLB Radio. He co-hosted a radio show with Vinny Micucci and the Chooch. Yeah, it's K107, the chooch. K107, CHC, the chooch.
Leyritz and the chooch in the afternoon.
Leyritz and the choocher. You sing in the background. Leyritz and the chooch. Hey, I'm the chooch. I'm here with my buddy Jimmy Leyritz. How you doing out there today? The chooch is in. Leyritz, he had to take a day off today. Apparently he's got a court thing with his wife. I don't know, something. But it's all right because the chooch has you covered. Let's talk about it. The lines are open. Let's talk about the Mets suck. The Yankees are surging. And the Knicks are going to be terrible as usual. Let's go. Line 2. Light them up, baby.
You're on with the chooch.
Get chooching. I said get chooching. That means talk. Jesus Christ. Fucking people hang up on him.
Did they know? Was the aggravated stalking, was that common? Like, was that knowledge to everybody? Because it's hard to get. It's
the
hard
Daily
to get
News
on the
talked
radio.
about it.
It's hard to get in media in New York.
Their court documents came out in the Daily News, so I mean, it was everyone knew about it. And then he also he was he's MLB Radio Daily on MLB Radio and was a regular contributor to the Michael Kay Show on the ESPN New York City affiliate. So 2006, in June 8th, 2006, that's when he was doing an Opie and Anthony interview on a satellite radio there, and that's when he was talking about using greenies and all that kind of shit. So that was the first time publicly he had admitted all that. So 2007, you knew about it from the court documents, but that was the first time he talked about it. In 2007, of October of 2007, he's working with Harold Reynolds and Chris Myers covering the pre- and post-game reports on the field for the 2007 playoffs and World Series for Fox.com.
Unbelievable.
So, did a good job there. He worked as a television analyst during the 2007 World Series here, and was getting all sorts of broadcasting opportunities. He had a sports marketing company that he founded, Full County Enterprises, and also brought some promotional work. And he was making over $100,000 a year again. So
doing great, finally.
That's doing good again, doing well.
Yeah.
So he's also partying at night. I mean,
really?
Oh, hell yeah!
Back at it.
He's never left it.
Oh,
he's always been partying. They talk about, this is from an article, quote, a steamy MySpace page. That's what time of year this is. It's 2006 or 2007 here. Belonging to a gorgeous user named Angela Bates. Features shots of her getting cozy with the journeyman catcher at 2 bars, including one which he's dressed up as a pirate for a Halloween party. A grinning Leyritz, 44, also appears in a photo wearing a partially opened red satin robe with his arm around a lingerie-clad blonde Barbie doll type and 3 other scantily dressed women. The snapshot labeled Playboy Mansion 07 Pajama Party. So, yeah, he's hanging out with he hangs out with Playboy women now. That's who he chills with in Florida with Playboy women. But I can smell spray tan from here. I'm just grossed out.
Banana boat.
Smell it, man. November 2007, he apparently misled Florida authorities when he got his driver's license renewed, even though it had been suspended 5 days earlier by New York. Okay. So he had a lapsed Florida driver's license, so he had a New York license because he was living up there. They suspended his license, so he just went down to Florida and renewed his license down there rather than dealing with that. He had been busted. He got arrested, or not arrested, but charged with driving while talking on his cell phone up in Albany on June 20th. And they suspended his license because he failed to answer a summons, even though he was notified multiple times. They said the paperwork logjam prevented authorities in Florida from knowing that Leyritz's license had been suspended 5 days earlier. So it had also been suspended 3 times in Florida since 2003. So he's getting it suspended a lot. They said if they had been aware of Leyritz's suspension in New York, they would not have granted him a new license. Duh. Spokesman for the Florida whatever the shit said, quote, I'm sure the state of New York was processing this information when he came to get a new license. He knew it. He knew what he was doing. He knew it. If you are suspended in another state, purchasing a license in Florida is wrong and unlawful. There you go. Right. So shouldn't be driving. Likes to hang out with playmates. So December 27th, 2007, he's out celebrating his 44th birthday.
Oh, boy.
Partying with Playboy models is what he's doing in Florida, doing it up. quote, curvy blonde pinup Erica Chevalier, whatever the fuck her name is. Tell us something. Erica something. Told the Daily News that she was downing Grey Goose vodka with him at a Fort Lauderdale party to celebrate his 44th birthday. Hell yeah. She had been in the March issue of Playboy that year.
Oh.
So, yeah, not even like an old Playboy model. He's getting current ones, for Christ's sake. And she claims that he was definitely not trashed when he left the bar. They went to the Blue Martini and they went to Automatic Slims, which are two different bars here.
I hate them already.
It sounds awful. And she said they went with friends and, quote, we were just sitting around drinking. He was fine when I left, which you left before him. So how do you know what happened after you left? It doesn't make sense. They said, well, he might have been buzzed. You think he wasn't falling over, but what do you think, he was buzzed from the vodka? And she said, I'm sure he was, but not hammered. So, they were at a bar, Blue Martini, moved to Automatic Slims, had a low-key party with about a half dozen, as the newspaper called it, sexy pals.
Yeah.
Bunch of ladies around. Yeah. This young woman said, quote, he's just the happiest, nicest guy in the world. All he talked about was his kids. It wasn't a crazy night at all. He's just having a few drinks with some Playboy models from that current year. And the bartender at the Blue Martini confirmed that he'd been in the place with two women hanging out. Yeah. Quote, he came in and had a few mixed drinks. I think he had two. And he also said that this guy has served Leyritz before. And he said, quote, he doesn't get plastered. He'll have a few drinks and then switch to water. Okay. That's what he says. So 3:20 a.m., he's driving home.
Hell yeah.
You know what I love? Whenever I say 3:20 a.m., you know there's a problem. He's driving home. He is driving his 2006 Ford Expedition, and he apparently drives, from what everybody says, through a red light. That's the allegation here. Problem is there's other people on the road, even though it's 3:20 in the morning.
Oh,
and
no.
Someone on the road is Frida Ann Veach, or Veached. She is driving a 2000 Mitsubishi Montero through a green light through the intersection.
No. It's so small.
He plows. It's one of those little SUVs, smaller SUV.
Yep.
He plowed into the side of it with the Expedition.
Oh, dear Lord.
It rolled over and crashed into a pole. She was not wearing her seatbelt and was thrown from the vehicle during the roll.
Oh, my God.
Thrown from that, and later on she'll be taken to the Broward General Medical Center and pronounced dead.
Of course she is.
Yeah, she died there. So
she got hit by an Expedition.
Yeah, she was rammed in the side, they said, at the intersection of Southwest 2nd Street and Southwest 7th Street in Fort Lauderdale near the Broward Center for the Performing Arts.
Oh, my God.
A police spokeswoman told the South Florida Sun-Sentinel that there was a red light and that witnesses said Leyritz didn't stop. They said fault is still being determined, and we'll get into this. According to the police report, Leyritz then failed field sobriety tests and declined a breathalyzer. Which, that's not good.
No.
Police wrote in the accident report that Leyritz had, quote, the odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from his person, which is a very technical way to put that.
Well, when you stink of booze, you are drunk.
You stunk of booze. So there we go. Frida, though, this poor woman, Jesus Christ, she was pronounced dead. So after that, then they did the mandatory blood alcohol test on him. 3:20 is when the accident happened. He's not tested until 6 a.m. because once she dies, then it's the law where they're taking your shit no matter what. So that's when that gets tested, and we'll talk about that. The weird thing is that Veach here, her name, she was a bartender and a waitress at a bar. And they said she worked at places Leyritz frequented. And
all the time, yeah.
Yeah, one bartender at the Crazy 8 Sports Bar in Fort Lauderdale. God, this is just awful. The Crazy 8 Sports Bar in Fort Lauderdale. She said, this is a bartender named Jillian, she said, quote, he definitely knew her. Like, she served him before. That's sort of shit. Witnesses, there's some witnesses to this whole deal here. They say that he smacked the SUV into her in the intersection. The car rolled and hit a pole, her car. So that's not good. Oh, by the way, she has 2 children as well. Yeah, that's not good. A 5-year-old included in this.
Dear Lord.
One witness, Garth Henry, he said that he ran to the SUV, hers, from the sidewalk, but nobody was in there. He saw it flip and ran over and didn't see anybody. Right. He didn't see that she was ejected. And he said, quote, she was on the ground behind the car, kind of bent up. That's awful. And another witness here, Karen Rivera, said that Leyritz came over, tried to shake Frida's leg after the don't touch someone there, and asked her if she'd been drinking. She's completely unconscious in a pretzel thrown out of a fucking car that's rolling over. And he's like, hey, you been drinking?
I have.
Trying to establish that it's her fault right away. Right. Okay. Then, by the way, there's video of this whole thing. There's video. Once the cops get there, it's all on video. His sobriety test is on video. It's all on video. You can find it's out there. You can watch it. They said that he did that, and then according to a police video taken on the scene, he told an officer, quote, she hit me pretty good.
You hit her in the side, bud.
Yeah, hit me pretty good. Yeah, it's all her. She must have been shit-faced. Anyway, I'll be going home now. Later on, it's on video when he's told that she was dead as well, and they said there is no reaction from him at all. Doesn't break down and cry. He's just standing there like, okay. That's not good on video. No. They who was this one? The Henry witness here said, quote, said that within moments of the collision, Leyritz approached him at the Southwest 7th and South and 2nd Street crash site, identified himself as the other driver, and then asked the person there if he had been in the SUV. Were you in the SUV? And he said that he pointed down to Frida and Veach's body, and Leyritz put his head in his hands for a second, like, oh, shit, she's down there. Now, she had come from, I guess they were on family vacation in Phoenix, Frida here. She's 30 years old, by the way, with 2 kids. Jesus. And they had decided that she's going to quit the late shift. She is tending bar at this point at the original steakhouse in Fort Lauderdale, and she wants to quit at the end of this year, and they want to try to have another child. Okay, these children are from her previous marriage. She's with her husband. They want to have a child with the 2 of them. So she was on her way back from a late bartending shift there, and it was supposed to be one of her last nights at work, by the way.
Oh, God damn it.
Yeah, she's got a 13-year-old girl and a 5-year-old boy, and they were trying to have a third, and she called her husband to say she was leaving the restaurant. He said, quote, we were getting ready to start having another child, and he said that he couldn't believe it because he talked to her 15 minutes before this happened, so he was in a lot of shock there. By the next day, the family had retained an attorney who announced they planned to file a lawsuit against Jim Leyritz. This lawyer said, quote, this is a tragic accident, an accident that took the life of a young woman with 2 beautiful young children and a young husband. So, he stood outside, the husband, Jordan, he stood outside and talked to the media about this shit, called Frida a beautiful woman who always wanted everyone around her to be happy. He said that he just talked to her. She said she'd be home in 15 minutes, and then she was gone. He said that their son, Julian, the 5-year-old, has been asking a lot of questions, like, why hasn't mommy come home? Right. Things like that. Who's going to take care of me? He said, quote, I had a 5-year-old who cried himself to sleep last night and has a lot of questions. He's aware that she's gone and it's affecting him deeply. He asked me why mommy wasn't going to come home, why mommy was in the grass, and who's going to take care of him. She was a good mother and a great wife. So, Jesus Christ. So, anyway, Leyritz is going to be charged with manslaughter.
Yeah.
DUI manslaughter here, and also misdemeanor count of damaging property while driving under the influence. They said he was stinking drunk. That's the way the cop described him, with red, watery eyes. Flunked several sobriety tests, which he says he passes later. Refused the blood test here. He ends up being released on $11,000 bail.
Really?
Which seems light. He goes into seclusion. We'll talk about that. Who is he staying with? Who does he go to?
Who?
Carrie, his ex-wife.
What?
He stayed with her for 3 days after this. He went to her house.
Man.
Whoa, what a fucking weird relationship they have. It gets weirder, by the way. Wait till you hear this shit. So the husband, Jordan, of the deceased woman, he said, quote, he talks about that his wife didn't wear a seatbelt what they said when asked what he would say to Leyritz if he had the opportunity. He said, "Those are words I can't say right now. I'm very angry. I lost my wife, and Leyritz was out of jail in 9 hours. That makes no sense." Another guy, Tom McEwen, who's a friend of Frida, said he often drank with Leyritz at bars in Florida. He should just be Tom McEwen, Florida bar trash. Should be his
Tom
Chiron.
McEwen, alcoholic.
Yeah.
Local alcoholic.
Local bar drunk. Local bar fly, Tom McEwen. He says the bottom line is he shouldn't have been drinking and driving. He said, "I know her family very well. Everybody feels absolute pity for the kids. She was one of the best mothers I've ever seen." So Jim goes into seclusion in his ex-wife's house, which is very weird. His lawyer, his booking agent, said that he's working on securing a criminal lawyer. And he says his only focus right now is to find an attorney who will defend him. He just wants to find an attorney. And, so he ends up at his ex-wife's house, who said, quote, "I can't answer any of your questions. I'm sorry." This is weird, too. Yesterday evening, Leyritz spent a short time with his 3 young children who were brought to the house by his attractive ex-wife, Carrie. Why would you put that in the newspaper? Who cares right now if she's attractive or not? There's a dead lady, and what are we talking about? So his attorney, he got an attorney and said that results of the blood test would not be known for another week. And, Leyritz is, quote, "absolutely emotionally crushed by the fact that this young lady died." Got a real sunny situation going on here. Now, a friend here said that a frantic Leyritz called her at 4:30 a.m., an hour after the crash, and said, quote, he pretty much just kept repeating that someone's dead. He just kept saying that. Leyritz, his friends said that, they don't think it could have been like this. There has to be something because they don't think he could have been that drunk. One of his friends said, quote, "Obviously there must be something to it because the records are what they are. But I can swear right now that I never, ever saw him getting drunk or acting the way people are talking. That's just not the person I know, and I don't believe for a minute that he became the wild party person that some people are making him out to be." Okay, well, let's go to the science, shall we? We can answer these questions I would hold my comments till the blood tests come in, is what I'm getting at. Yeah. Leyritz's blood alcohol at 6:10 a.m., almost 2 hours and 50 minutes after the accident, they did 2 tests. One was a 0.14 and the other a 0.13, which is well over the 0.08 limit. And also, that is 3 fucking hours later.
Right.
Your shit dissipates a lot. How drunk was he?
Oh, boy.
Dude.
Yeah.
I don't care what any of these people said. If you blow that 3 hours later, you're shit hammered, man. Fucking bullshit.
And that's not blowing. That's fucking blood. So they drew it. That's what's in there now. That's
what's
crazy.
there now. Yeah. 3 hours later.
There's no way for him to argue this.
Nope. So they also test Frida Ann Veach's blood, and her blood alcohol level was 0.18.
What?
She was drunk too. Now Florida has a law that, remember, this is the wide receiver didn't go to prison forever because of the person he hit was also drunk and doing something that caused the accident. So they called it equal whatever the fuck. So that's a thing in Florida you got to watch out for. So, the Leyritz's lawyer said, "I think the evidence is so favorable on his side that ultimately he's going to be exonerated on all charges in the criminal case, and I think we're going to succeed in the defense of the civil case. Not only was he not negligent, but she was the direct and proximate cause of the accident."
He ran a red light.
Now he
what
blamed
are we talking
it on her.
about?
Yeah, as soon as she's drunk, she couldn't know green from red now. Now, her lawyer says, quote, the family's lawyer says, quote, "Whether or not she was intoxicated is not relevant because she was driving with a green light in her own lane of traffic within the speed limit, not breaking any laws, and she was except for being drunk.
Except for what?
And she was not in any way the cause of this accident." By the way, the Yankees don't respond for comment at all when asked.
Not our problem.
Leyritz should expect that. Instead, he says, "Am I disappointed there's not a little more support there? I would say a little bit, but at the same time, I really truly understand the reasonings." Yeah.
Jim.
You seem like a drunk asshole who fucked around with Playboy models and then killed a mother of 2. That's what it seems like at this point. That's the perception from the outside. So, His friend says he deserves better than that. His friend said, quote, he's not a leper and he's innocent. You're guilty until proven innocent in this country, unfortunately. So, yeah, unfortunately, he's saying it. So he said that the Yankees weren't alone in snubbing him. He said, if it was just them doing it, I would say, yeah. But you know what? It's everything. So now he's losing his jobs also.
Of course.
He was earning about $5,250 a month working as an MLB.com analyst.
Wow.
And his contract expired in March and was not expected to be renewed now, they said when asked. We don't expect to renew it. We're going to say no. At the memorial, the preacher who was talking said, quote, he should get the maximum because her children won't know their mother forever.
Excellent point.
That's a lot there. Maximum, by the way, is 15 years he's facing.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, that's a lot. Wow. They did, oh my God. They did these fucking eulogies that must have been heartbreaking, and it's a lot, man. And the kids talk, that's bad.
Oh, no.
That's rough, man. I've been to a funeral where the person's daughter, who was like a 12-year-old, talked, and it was, you want to talk about heartbreaking. Jesus Christ. I watched a gangster cry his eyes out over that. It was bad. It was fucking bad. So they said that they have the whole memorial service, and everybody's talking about, I mean, obviously, what a wonderful, she's somebody's mother and she's dead. That sucks. So now he says, I wasn't drunk. They talked to a DUI lawyer who says that, quote, almost no one thinks that they're impaired at the time of their arrest.
Yeah.
He said, quote, you would not believe the number of people I've represented over the years who blew a .15 and tell me they thought they were fine. That's what happens. Now, in church, he's going to church now, Jimmy.
Yeah, of course.
He's hanging out with his parents, going to church.
Yeah.
He spent about an hour at a big Southern Baptist church before he hopped in the passenger seat of his father's car and returned to the ranch house and all that kind of shit. There, he met up with an unidentified man and woman who accompanied him and his dad to the downtown Fort Lauderdale office of his defense attorney. So he's going to church. He's trying to do all of that. One of his friends said, quote, I've known Jim a long time, and he's about as friendly, easygoing guy as you're going to see. All the drinking they're talking about, I just never saw that side of him. He's a great father, and you'd see him at school, at every event, at any time they'd say they'd have a game. That's good. And then he went out and got drunk and plowed into a lady. So those two things can exist. You can be a great person that got drunk and did a dumb thing. That happens. Then you're kind of an asshole.
And you can have experiences with him that show you what he is, and his court documents explain otherwise.
That's what I'm saying. A little bit otherwise. So he's going to be allowed to continue to be out on bond while he awaits trial on DUI manslaughter charges. The judge does order him not to drive and stay away from drugs and alcohol. His compliance will be monitored through a machine that sends breath test results to court officers. So that's what he's got going on. He's not allowed to drive at all. Nothing. The judge said, quote, no alcohol at all. No products containing alcohol. Quote, I don't care if it's Listerine, she said.
No alcohol.
Nothing. And he told her, I fully understand. So, wow. 2008 here. Let's see here. Oh, they also swabbed his DNA as well there, because that's part of, they can do that. 2008, he's awaiting trial. He says he's broke.
I'm sure.
Broke. He says, quote, I like to be liked. I can hear the whispers. I feel the stares. To listen to people who just don't know the facts hurts, but I can't help it. I listen. I know I shouldn't. I can't tell you how many times I go away, sit in my backyard, and just break down and cry. People are so wrong about who I am.
Okay.
Oh, my. Jesus Christ. This article describes him as, quote, sitting at his dining room table in Plantation, Florida. One of the chairs next to him is broken in half. His roadside sobriety test is playing on a small DVD nearby. He's just got it playing on a loop. Yeah. And his boys, ages 8, 12, and 14, noisily chase each other around the house in their baseball uniforms. The table is covered in colored files stuffed fat with witness testimonies and police reports and proof. Here's a string of upset text the victim string of upset texts the victim, Frida Ann Veach, is alleged to have typed to her husband while driving drunk moments before the accident. Here's an emergency room medical report after she apparently drove drunk into a tree on another occasion. Here's a long list of driving infractions. Then he says, quote, please don't make it look like I'm attacking her. This is just my
You're doing
case.
that yourself, sir.
Wow. This is just my case, my side. That's for court, not for a newspaper, not for a reporter sitting next to you. In no way do I want to disrespect her memory. I just want the truth out. I've stayed quiet out of respect, but I'm fighting for 3 children here.
Yeah.
His children, obviously, not hers. He says that he peppers his attorneys daily with more evidence, highlighting thousands of deposition pages, and this is all he does. He's obsessed with it, basically. He says there's witnesses now that he's uncovered that suggest maybe he was driving through a yellow light that night, not a red one.
Oh, no.
He said he's been to this accident scene several times to take photos after 1 a.m. and illustrate how obstructed the view of that intersection is at that hour. His attorney said, quote, Jim is obsessive. Yeah, no shit. It's all he's doing. They said, do you think that's healthy? And the lawyer said, not healthy at all. Jim says it helps. It reintroduces the truth every day. Okay. He just has to look at it. He has to tell himself that this is true, even though who knows. So this whole deal, by the way, they also talk about he recently had to sell his World Series shit also. Just doing all of that. He says, what you see over there is all that's left, he says, of the dozen framed photos and jerseys. A guy from an auction house came over the other day and took whatever had worth, about $5,000. That's where he's at. So he's low. He's low. Who do you lean on at this point? You need your family. You need people around you.
Your cellmate.
You need your cellmate if he's kind and gentle and warm on a cold winter's night. You need a lot of things.
Yeah.
What you really need, though, he gets, and that's a knock at the door.
Yeah.
It's a knock at the door, and it's Vinny Pazienza's ma. He's there. She's there to set Jimmy straight and tell him what he's exactly doing wrong. And she says, how is it you've come to arrive here? What are you doing? Jimmy, oh my God. You were playing for the Yankees. We sat around and watched you. Oh my God. My uncle actually had a stroke that day and died because he was so happy. And you know what? We didn't even mourn him because he died happy, and you did that for him. Thank you for killing my uncle. Now what the fuck happened? What's wrong with you? Jimmy, are you eating right? I know you're drinking, but are you eating? Jimmy, get over here. What are you doing? You plowing into people? Jimmy, I got in a car accident once in 1978, and I'll tell you what, my neck I still wake up at night from that, Jimmy. You should feel terrible. Did you go to the doctor, Jimmy? Jimmy, did you go to the doctor? Where's your ex-wife? She was nicer. You shouldn't be with those Playboy girls. They're not good for you. You're gonna end up killing mothers in the street. That's what's happening. Jimmy, eat something. Jimmy, I got gabagool. Jimmy, come back. There's a plate. Oh, God, Jesus, Jimmy. Poof. In a cloud of a lot of things, marinara sauce and motherly love. Motherly love, it's called in Italian, Jimmy. That's what that's called.
Overbearing annoyance is motherly love.
She just loves me. It's fine. She's gone. And Jim is very confused because he's super white and from the Midwest and has no idea what just happened. So, wow, that's crazy. Jim, at this point, makes it all worse somehow in the press. He says, quote, this accident happens whether I was drinking that day or not. It would have happened at 2 p.m. There was no possibility of me avoiding that crash with all my senses. A mother was taken away from her kids. I can't change that. But I didn't do it. The accident did. And that accident was not my fault. That's called...
Holy shit.
That's that's not good. That's
just saying things that are not true, hoping that they are.
It's the different things. There's different ways. There's a vanishing perpetrator that people talk about. There's a different perpetrators, and he just made it someone else. He just pushed it on there. So he shows the DVD playing the roadside sobriety test, and he says, quote, I'm scared to death here, but look at this. I'm passing everything.
How does he know that?
He's not a cop. His attorney says most defendants don't want Judgment Day to come at their trial. But Jim, and he says, quote, I've been begging for it.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I've been begging for it. So he also now needs charity. He seeks aid from the Baseball Assistance Team, BAT, a charity that helps former players through tough times. He said, quote, they've basically been a savior. If it wasn't for them, I don't know what I would have done. You've already sold all your shit. Yeah. He said that no one was helping him and his family, and that the lawyer for the Veach family doesn't give a shit that he's getting help. Described Leyritz as someone who has destroyed the lives of a number of people and questioned the propriety of giving him assistance. He said, I'd be interested in learning whether the Baseball Assistance Team takes into consideration whether they're pouring salt in the wounds of the victims in this case. So, but they're representing him. They have nothing to do with that. That's a baseball player thing. So Jim Martin, the executive director of the Baseball Assistance Team, spoke out about the program and just said, quote, it's not the kid's fault when somebody does something stupid. So, we're feeding his kids here. It's been like a year since the accident. He's made unpaid appearances at a couple events, but that's it. In September, he posed with fans and signed autographs at a suburban golf club in Union, New Jersey to benefit the local Chamber of Commerce.
What
Jesus
is that
Christ.
benefiting? To take pictures with a guy?
Well, the community or the event organizer, Bill Lederman, said, this is a country of second chances. There's no Yankee fan alive who doesn't think, regardless of the outcome of this trial, that he deserves one.
Wow.
Don't speak for me. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. What is your name, dipshit? Bill Lederman can suck my cock. How's that? Eat dicks, Bill Lederman. A whole fucking ballpark Frank bun full of them, you fucking asswipe.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. Don't speak for me. Leyritz's agent said that corporate event organizers have asked to book Leyritz, only to say a few hours later, quote, it's just not going to work out right now.
we don't need you.
They weren't paying attention to the news, and they were
Right.
like, oh shit, a lady died? Okay, never mind. Cross them up. And
kids.
Yeah, the agent said that he didn't ever have to ask why. He said, quote, I knew the reason. Yeah. So May 2009, he's awaiting trial. He is hospitalized after threatening suicide.
What'd he do?
Okay. There's a malfunctioning. Turns out later on that the breathalyzer test on his car was malfunctioning. So he was blowing into it, and it was coming back that he couldn't drive. And it turned out later to be a malfunction in the system, they found out. So rather than like calling and saying, I'd like another test, figuring out how you do this above board, he freaked the fuck out. He freaked out, and I guess the police came, and he got angry at them. He ended up in a psych ward.
What?
Oh yeah. He also, the SWAT team had to bring him down with guns drawn. He was like climbing over a fence. It was really bad. He hurt his arm doing this.
Like in public.
He had a panic attack. He lost his fucking mind. Yeah.
Wow.
And he ended up handcuffed to a psych hospital bed. That is not good, Jim. Jesus Christ. He's released from there to the custody of his ex-wife who took him in with her.
She's back.
Now they live together again.
Oh, my God.
But they're not together, but they live together.
They're just roommates.
She said, he just got home. I can't say anything until he talks to his lawyer. He's going to see him right now. And then she said, I'm sorry, I can't say anything again. Apparently, the police lieutenant said a person from New Jersey called Davie Police about 9:20 p.m. and said they had concern for Leyritz's welfare. Davie Police then went to Carrie Leyritz's home, who told them that Jim Leyritz had blown into the breathalyzer in an attempt to start his car, but the device indicated he had been drinking. Carrie told the cops that he had not been drinking, and it turns out that the breathalyzer was broken. So Leyritz became upset because he knew the result would be reported to authorities as a possible violation of bail, and his lawyer said that caused him to be distraught. And, so Carrie's told the cops that Leyritz said something to the effect of, quote, he might as well end it if it's too much trouble.
Oh, my.
So that's why they called and said, hey, we got to worry. So when police talked to Leyritz, who was at the house, he told them, I just need to talk to somebody. Officers told him he could voluntarily go to the hospital. He asked them if they could give him a ride, and he packed his own bag, and then the cops drove him to a hospital, and he checked in voluntarily. So I don't know where the SWAT team came in because that was reported somewhere else, too. I'm not sure about that.
Handcuffed to the bed.
That he ended up, I don't know how the fuck that happened. So he checked. That's a cop said that. So, oh no, wait, is that his lawyer? Hold on. Is that his goddamn lawyer?
His lawyer said it that way?
I think his lawyer said it that way. Never mind. That's his lawyer. Yeah. Oh, no. That's Police Lieutenant Bill Coyne. Never mind.
Said it like that, huh?
I said it like that.
Wow.
So, anyway, they say he's okay. He's doing fine there. So this is the time he calls Jerry Springer time because he moves back in with his ex-wife to help with expenses. Also, he's dating and he has to bring, people home to his ex-wife. He said, quote, my opening line hasn't been the best. You need to listen to me breathe into a machine just to start my car. You can have a drink with me, but don't kiss me because I can't have it on my lips. I don't know what my future is either. Oh, yeah, and my ex-wife is at the house and I have no job and can't pay for dinner. That's something. Yeah. He said having his new girlfriend over at his ex-wife with having his ex-wife in the other room is, quote, my Jerry Springer moment. And he said, only thing I know how to do is teach baseball, coach baseball, and talk baseball. Yeah, he's got speaking engagements a little bit. He ends up he's got this thing where he charges people to sit and hang out with Yankee fans and watch games with them. It's really weird.
Buy me a ticket and I'll sit next to you.
Yeah, it's fucking strange. It's so weird. Also, he had a deal with an athletic company that he had just completed some infomercials for an international real estate company. And he said, I was going to be the Eric Estrada of Costa Rica, and that's gone now. Because he's working with some kids and doing shit like that and trying to get people to let him back into the world here. He has to pay for his own tickets. He had to pay for his own ticket for the closing of Old Yankee Stadium and the opening of the new one. Yeah. Security escorted him out of areas where he was used to being able to go. One guard threatened to have him arrested. So he's not being treated like that.
It's over.
They said, do you feel alone, like an outsider or a pariah? And he said, all of those things. And they said, well, what's the greatest shame? He said that charities don't want me around either. People won't even let me do charity work.
Let me help.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy. He said it's nuts. He talks about even like Jeter's golf tournament asked him not to come. Jorge Posada's foundation for kids with cranial synostosis asked him not to come. Those kids have cranial problems. They need everybody they can get.
Not Jim Leyritz.
Holy shit, man. So, yeah, he's trying to get back in and they won't let him in. But one place will let him in, it's church. He goes hard into church at this point. God. Oh, yeah. Hard. His ex-wife and him go to church together. It shows, by the way, his breathalyzer shows 5,528 tests over 373 days and 19,153 miles and 2 fails. He says the machine is faulty and that the latest fail was triggered by chicken wing spices, which is possible. We don't know.
Chicken wings?
Who the fuck knows? He was so panicked about it that he rushed to the police station with the chicken wings.
It was these. There's the culprit.
Look, officer. So you do it and then blow. A friend in New Jersey also found him so frenzied that she thought he was suicidal, and that's the whole thing. He calls the whole hospital incident, quote, an embarrassing national misunderstanding. And he said it ended up with him in a psych ward next to a man who was arguing with himself and making clucking noises.
Oh, God.
He then says, I'm not crazy and I'm not suicidal and I've never had a problem with alcohol.
And I don't speak chicken.
I don't speak rooster and I will not start now. He admits to being drunk 3 times since the accident, at a Halloween on a private yacht, in a suite at a concert at the game celebrating the University of Florida's football championship, but never when he had kids or never when he's driving. He's allowed to drink, just not to drink and drive. And they said, well, why drink at all? And he said, quote, until you've been in my shoes, don't judge. What the fuck does that mean?
That's so weird.
That's a dumb thing. That just means I'm not going to answer that question because it's unanswerable.
Why drink it all? I'm not judging. I'm asking a question. Answer it, and I'll judge that.
Fucking crazy. So July 2009, everything is tranquil, living with your ex-wife. What can go wrong when you're living with your ex-wife? Well, July of 2009, he is arrested for domestic violence. It is a charge of domestic violence battery after Davie police were called to the Ridge Trace home he shares with his ex-wife at about 3 a.m.
Oh, God.
Yeah, this isn't going to work, bro.
No.
It didn't work when you were together, for Christ's sake. I think it's going to work now. Carrie Leyritz told officers that she and her ex-husband had argued about child support payments that she wrote to herself from his accounts without his knowledge. So Leyritz learned about the check, became enraged, and, quote, hit her in the face twice in the home's foyer and pushed her to the floors, which he told police. She ran next door and called 911. But then Jim's going to say that Carrie's account of what happened and where it happened changed during follow-up interviews. They said later, she later said that she'd been in a fight. A fight began when Jim dragged her out of the bed and pushed her against the bedroom wall, opening a half-inch cut above her left eye. Police checked the area and found what looked like blood smeared on the wall by somebody's hand. Carrie also admitted to drinking that night. One of Leyritz's 3 sons, all of whom were asleep during this incident, told police, quote, Mom was drunk and she probably hit herself again.
What?
Okay. Now, his lawyer also says her statement was inconsistent with what she initially told police. The physical evidence did not seem to equal an account of events, and she was admittedly under the influence of alcohol. Well, that doesn't matter at all. So Leyritz told police his ex-wife invented the story because he was evicting her from the home. This was her house that she moved into. Yeah. Another one of his attorneys said that, quote, there was absolutely no assault. I don't think there's any legitimacy to the claims being made here. I think law enforcement did what they needed to do in the circumstances. Now, Carrie, who had a big bruise above her eye when she was saying this, said that she did not lie. And she said if her story changed somewhat, it was because she was frazzled when she spoke to police early in the morning after being knocked around by Jim. Mm-hmm. She said, quote, I think it's unfair that a female gets hit and now I have to turn around and defend myself. So she also said her 12-year-old son told police she hit herself because Jim told him that's what happened. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But a neighbor, Lily Lau, a neighbor who let Carrie into the home after the fight, said the left side of her face was covered in blood and she was frantic when she pleaded to be let inside. She said she did not see Jim Leyritz outside, but Carrie did smell like alcohol. So not good at all. From this, he's out on bail for manslaughter charges. Remember that?
Yeah.
The judge goes, in fucking jail, asshole. You can't do this. So, he gets told that he is going to have to stay in jail. Police found no evidence of a struggle near the front door, but found blood in the bedroom where she said that other story happened. On the stand in this court case, just for this hearing, Carrie said her story changed because the attack happened quickly and her memory wasn't completely clear and stuff like that. She said, I got knocked in the face 2 times. That much I remember. So the judge says, you, sir, have to go to jail now and stay there while you await your trial. And he said, quote, you're kidding me. And then he started sobbing. And then he said, I don't care at this point. Wow. Like 5 days later, he gets reinstated. His bail gets reinstated here. Now he's on the offensive, and he said, she threatened me. She said, quote, I can get you thrown in jail if you mess with me. And Jim Leyritz showed text messages sent by Carrie suggesting that she would get him in trouble if he tried to force her to leave his house. Quote, don't mess with me. You can't make me leave. Okay. Anyway, she said the whole thing, she's disappointed that he's going to be let out, but she said, I put it all in God's hands. The civil case goes forward. Jim settles the civil case. It's a wrongful death lawsuit by agreeing to pay $350,000 in both insurance and personal funds to Frida Ann's family. So there's that. November 2010 is the trial. Okay, so it's been almost 3 years. They said that the testimony was inconclusive on whether Leyritz ran a red light when he collided with the other vehicle. Defense experts testified that Leyritz may have been below, this is crazy, they testified that he may have been below the 0.08% blood alcohol limit when the crash occurred, even though his blood alcohol level is 0.14 3 hours later.
So they're saying that he drank and got in the car and then hit her and then got drunker as his
and then got drunker.
Digest. Yeah,
3 hours later.
Unbelievable.
Now, when that happens, this is what I mean. In the world, we can't have reality and then not reality facts. And everyone's entitled to their opinion. If you think that no, we can't have that. Right. There's reality. Then there's you go to the hospital because you don't fucking know what reality is. Those are the two things we should have in this fucking country. I'm tired of this shit.
To speak chicken,
I'm sick of it
because you're crazy. Yeah,
Sarah says this all the time when someone's acting crazy on like a politician or something. She goes, "Can we call the ambulance for that person? Because why can't we call the ambulance?"
Right.
Why? Because that person's clearly not in reality. Either they're a liar or they belong in a rubber room. You fucking pick which one. Which one are you? You have to say it beforehand. I'm crazy or everything I'm about to say is horse shit. I want to hear one of those two things come out of your fucking mouth before you say crazy shit. But they let this asshole testify, and 2 witnesses testified that Frida Ann had the green light at the intersection causing the crash, but under cross-examination, those witnesses were less definitive about whether Leyritz's light was red or yellow, because how the fuck would you see both? That's why.
Well, the other answer is if her light's green, then the other one's fucking red.
That's how it usually works. Yeah, that's
the way it is. That's what are we talking about? They don't both turn fucking green.
But in court, it's different. In court, one thing can be green. They can both be green somehow in court. That's the thing. In court, it's not if you didn't prove this and prove that. It's what the jury believes. So prosecutors insisted that he was too drunk to react to the traffic light or avoid the collision with the car. They said he consumed the equivalent of between 11 and 12 shots of liquor in the 3 hours before the crash. And anyway, it all comes in and goes to deliberation. 45 minutes of deliberation. Wow. Not much. He is acquitted of manslaughter.
Stop that.
Acquitted of DUI manslaughter. Convicted, though, of a misdemeanor charge of driving under the influence.
How can you be one of them? Right. How can one not?
I don't know. Florida, man. I'm going to say Florida and just call it that.
Crazy.
He was weeping while the jurors said that, and he said, "Thank you for listening. It's a horrible situation for everyone. There are no winners," he said to the jury. The defense attorney said that he would like Leyritz to be sentenced to the 18 days he's already served, community service, and a $500 fine. That's what he would like for sentencing. He also said justice was done, but he has to accept responsibility for drinking and driving. Sentencing. Oh, my God. You, sir, may fuck off 1 year of probation.
Oh, my God.
And a $500 fine. He learned his lesson.
Boy, oh boy.
So, yeah. Oh, by the way, in 2010, he is ticketed for improper change of lanes and other traffic problems. So he's still not I would be 10-2, eyes on the road if I was him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all this shit. Either way, you got to feel bad for this lady's fucking family now, too. They're like, Jesus, nothing even. They did get $350,000, but still, I mean, you can't replace a mother with that. Right. What do you do? Buy a mother?
Right.
Here, kids, I bought your replacement mom. Here she is. It's fucking ridiculous. I mean, there's a lot of people. His ex-wife, this has been a disaster. I mean, I feel bad for all these people, Jimmy. Not nearly as bad as I feel for everybody on here is him. They're all him. He has like 7 LinkedIns. It's disturbing. Oh, yeah. One of them is Director of Partnerships, Bioplanet International at Bioplanet International LLC in California. And this is what he says, quote, this is about him. As a sales specialist and motivational speaker, Jim Leyritz draws life lessons gleaned from his inspirational comeback story and his 11-year MLB career to close deals and energize audiences. He offers presentations on creating a winning mentality, building high-performance teams, overcoming adversity, quieting the critics, and letting faith guide your path to success.
What is his comeback story?
Go to hell. This.
Oh, boy.
He was charged and then he got out of it.
Oh, boy.
He's involved with a bunch of charities now. Apparently, his brother-in-law died from ALS, so he's working with a bunch of ALS charities and shit like that. February 2011, he's hired as a pitching coach for the Newark Bears. Yes, he was never a pitcher in his life, but he was a catcher. People automatically went, was he a pitcher?
Yeah.
Catchers can be decent pitching coaches, too, because they work with pitchers so much. No one knows when you're dropping your head a little bit too much. Right. They see it They're the person that sees it.
They stare at you for hours a day.
Yep, they look at your release point all the time to know where the ball's coming. And on April 14th, 2012, it was announced that Leyritz was returning to the Yankees on a personal services contract as well. So they're even going to take him back into the family. He writes a book in 2011 called Catching Heat.
Oh, dear Lord.
Want to hear his pitch for it?
I do.
Quote, most people remember me for two events, both of which tested my faith in different ways. I controlled one, the other I did not. I was in control of the home run I hit in the 1996 World Series against the Atlanta Braves, which turned the series around for the New York Yankees and eventually led them to their first World Championship in 18 years. I was not in control of the 2007 car accident in which I was involved that resulted in the tragic loss of a woman's life. I decided that I would not let my life be defined by either of those moments. This is my story. Oh, boy.
I hate it.
No good. 2012, another traffic citation of some kind in Orange County, California. 2015, he's living in Orange County, California with his new wife, Michelle. They get married in July of, I said that like he's the new champion in wrestling, but a new tag team champions of the world.
Yeah.
Jim and Michelle. And she has two daughters. He has his three sons. He's a member and an usher at the Saddleback Church in Lake Forest, California. Kids' names are Austin, Dakota, and Phoenix. Mm-hmm. And at one point he said, quote, my wife called me from California and she said, are you sitting down? And I said, why? What happened? I thought something happened to my mom or dad or something happened to my kids. And she was crying. And I said, what's wrong? And she said, I just came home and found an envelope at the front door. Thought it was one of your checks from one of your appearances. I opened it up. And she said, it was an invite to Old Timers Day. You've been invited back.
She's crying over that?
Oh, yeah. She said it was
Are
just
you sitting
couldn't wait.
Down? You're
Are you
old
sitting
now.
down? They're letting you come back now. So he's also says he's rebuilding his life as the National Director of Development for Raleigh Fingers charity, The Greatest Save, to prevent child sex trafficking and abductions. Well, that's good, I guess. He spent 13 years in the Yankee system, and they used to call him the king, he says, because of his cockiness, and that's okay. He says, somebody asked me the other day, what would you change in your life, if anything? And I said, with all the hardships and all the glorified things I've gone through, the good and the bad, I would not change anything, except for the one moment when that woman passed away.
Oh, God.
And that's the only regret I have in my entire. He saved that hard at the end there. Kick,
James,
save, and a beauty.
I was gripping.
Yep. Kick, save, and a beauty. I mean, she had to die for me to understand what was good for me, and that's okay, I think. That would have been real bad. 2016, he started being on a co-hosted and nationally syndicated weekly radio show with Dave Meltzer. Is that the wrestling Dave Meltzer? Somebody out there tell me if that it's called Sports Blender on SB Nation. Maybe because a blender would be baseball, and I don't know. Right. But Dave Meltzer's a wrestling guy. Anyway, forever the kind of preeminent wrestling journalist in quotes. I say that's all in quotes, big time, hard quotes on that. He's also doing charity work. He says, quote, I'm a spokesman for pinktie.org, which provides money for different charities that need financial assistance. Okay. That's good. He said one of his big projects is through the Teen Project. It rescues young women who have timed out of foster care, many of whom have been victims of sex trafficking. The Teen Project provides drug treatment at no cost to the recipients and even offers transitional housing for free to focus on sobriety, education, and housing. Can't get enough of Jim Leyritz?
I had plenty.
No problem. You can rent a Leyritz. Oh. It's okay. On his website, it has everything. Jim's passionate about sharing his personal motivational story and speaks nationwide, including, this is great, sporting events, corporations, and churches. Now, he has different prices for all of it. Okay. This is his church speaking fees and topics. At church, his topics are going all in, a daily walk with God, faith, perseverance, and never giving up. The purpose-driven life. It's not about you. And then also living a legacy, the difference between a baseball legacy and a life legacy. By the way, this picture of him speaking, he is in a full Padre uniform.
What? In a church?
He's on stage with a bottle of water, a little table with notebooks on it, in a full Padre uniform with his watch on. Okay. So, keynote speaker, 1 hour speech followed by 30-minute Q&A and meet and greet session, 100 autographed photos, $5,000 to $10,000 that will cost you.
God.
Speaker, just a speaker, 40-minute speech, 20-minute Q&A, and Jim's fucking out, $3,000 to $5,000. All of this is plus travel and lodging as well. Of course,
yeah.
And I'm sure it's, top tier. Now, his college and sporting industry fees are different. He talks about teamwork, importance of every player, creating a winning mentality, performing under pressure, that one's called. Then tenacity over talent, outworking your opponent. Also, adapting to circumstances. Not everyone becomes a pro athlete. That's the name of that speech. And then importance of education, why being a college athlete makes you attractive in business. 1 hour speech, 30-minute Q&A, meet and greet, 100 autographs, $8,000 to $10,000.
Wow.
He'll take a little chunk off for the churches, and then just the 40-minute speech deal, well, $3,000 to $5,000 for a church, $5,000 to $7,000 for athletic shit. Finally, corporate. He's got corporate gigs too.
And that's where he makes the money.
Building a high-performance team, maximizing the strengths and weaknesses of your staff. These are all probably the same speeches with different names, by the way.
Of course, yeah.
Creating a winning mentality, performing under pressure. That's the same one for sports. Adjusting to your corporate culture. Adaptability, accountability, and timing. And then tenacity over talent again. So for this, you get 1 hour speech, 45-minute Q&A, 100 autographs, plus golf or dinner with your executive team. Starting at $15,000. Starting. Or 45-minute speech, 30-minute Q&A, $7,000 to $10,000. Or on his website, you can just, quote, hang out with Jimmy Leyritz.
For how much?
Well, Jim is available in New York City for the final. This was for 2020, for the following 2020 game watches. And one was booked already. Maximize your stadium experience by watching the game with two-time world champ Jim Leyritz. Gain real-world insights on what's it like to be a Yankee and compete in high-pressure games. Share your favorite moments in Yankee history with Jim. In case you didn't know what you wanted to talk about with the guy who you're paying for. You could talk. I could talk about Yankee history with him. Okay. Game watches include a 2-hour hang with Jim at a public location of your choice within New York City limits. Guests may bring pictures, balls, books to be autographed. Pricing varies according to dates and number of guests. Jim is also available to add excitement to your business events, client meetings, golf tournaments, and trade shows. For fan appearances, game watches, and fan experiences, contact Michelle at jimleyritz.com.
His wife.
His wife. So hang out with that. That, everybody, is Jim Leyritz.
Oh, man.
What a fucking trip, man. My God.
Do you want to book him and go to a Renegades game and then just only talk about DUI car crashes?
We can do that.
Let's do it.
If we do it, we can, that's a business expense.
Let's ruin his day.
Because then we'll talk about it afterwards as a business expense. Let's do it. We'll get they're like $15. We'll get front row tickets, me, you, and Jim, just hanging out there. The three Jimmys are going to sit there and have a good time. Jimmy, and Jimmy. Let's line them up.
Hey, Jim, what was your favorite booze? We'll talk about his drink of choice.
Say, he comes back there with a beer. We slap it from his hand. And go, I heard keys jingling in your pocket, Chief. Sit down and have a pretzel. Anyway, that's Jim Leyritz.
Mustard, no beer.
No beer. There he is. If you like that, tell the world. Get on whatever app or platform you're listening to. Give us 5 stars and tell them anything you want. Honestly, tell us what your favorite sports movie is. Do that because we talked about those. Check that all out there and have a lot of fun doing that. Please, it helps us out a lot. Also, head over to shutupandgivememurder.com where you can get everything crime and sports and small town murder. You can get all the merchandise. Anything that we talk about, there's a damn shirt for it, I promise you. Check out your merchandise. Get tickets for live shows. My goodness. Small Town Murder in New Orleans on July 15th. That's coming up. There is a crime and sports with tickets remaining. And I would get those. Just trust me on that. In Sacramento at the Ace of Spades in August. And that is, it's going to be Darryl Strawberry is the subject.
Yes.
So get your damn tickets to those. And if you're around the New Orleans area, come see us. Even if you're not a Small Town Murder listener, we crush at live shows.
Yes.
We're fucking comedians.
Yeah.
We're not like podcast people who sit there and talk and we're like, oh, okay. We're comics. We're bringing the pain, bitches.
We're going to have
fucking
fun,
come.
you guys. Come to the
We're going to have
show.
fun.
Yeah.
Check it all out and do that. Follow us on social media at Crime and Sports on Twitter and Facebook, at Small Town Murder on Instagram, and also Patreon.
Yeah.
My goodness, are you going to want patreon.com/crime in sports is where you get everything, all of the bonus stuff, man. It's all bonus stuff. Anything extra, you're going to get it there. We have like 150 episodes. You get access to Crime in Sports and Small Town Murders episodes. This week, the episodes you're going to get here are for Crime in Sports. We are going to talk about, we did a long list of our sports movies and just kind of a couple lines on each of them. We're going to do our top 5 sports movies, each of us, and why, and we're going to get in depth, and I'm sure we're going to talk about why this one's good and that one sucks, and why you like that one better and I like this one better. That's something you can't help but have a little debate about.
Yeah.
But we're going to exclude a couple that we know will be on our list, and we'll just talk about them separately during this episode, like Major League.
Yeah.
Major League is going to be 1 or 2 for both of us. So
It's a
we're going to
fantastic movie.
Let's take that out and put it over here, and we'll talk about that, and we'll kind of see what's left. So things like that, check that out. Then for Small Town Murder, we are going to do, people just like it, so we have to do it, and it's fun too. We're going to talk about old-timey murders, where we go back in the newspaper archives, and I find just the weirdest shit you can think of over the last 150 years that have happened in different ways of murders, and they're always crazy, and I'm also going to bring in some weird articles that I've gotten that I've gathered over the years, like a clown that's murdered in his dressing room in Madison Square Garden, and they're trying to figure out how it happened in the 50s. It's so funny. For me, I just cracked up laughing. I'm like, good. There's a picture of him with his big, stupid feet. It's so funny.
That's a fun investigation. There's paint everywhere.
It's amazing. That's patreon.com/crime in sports is where you get all of that. And, follow us on social media, and you will get a shout-out as well if you're a patron. And Jimmy will mispronounce your name while trying his hardest to get it right. Also, PayPal, you can donate there using our email address, crimeinsports@gmail.com. But all of that said, Jimmy, hit me with the names of my favorite people who would never, ever, ever, ever plow into us and then claim the light was green. Jimmy, hit me with them now.
This week's executive producers are Leona Messing, Robin Heyer, Isaac Moya in New Mexico. I hope you love it there. He wanted me to tell him that it was okay. That was a few weeks ago. It's not okay. He knows it's not okay.
Not okay. No,
Janae Wood Mathis, she came to our show in, where were we just at? I don't remember. But it was good to see you, Janae. Karen Lewis, Fran Hitsky in Australia, Jordan Bennett, Sandra Wilkie, Britton Edwards, and Colton Cox. Thank you guys for everything, truly. You're fantastic individuals.
Absolutely.
Other producers this week are Justine McNeil. That's what it is. And also the master of karate and friendship for everyone, James.
Good,
he is
good.
The day
man is here. Excellent.
Liz Vasquez, Joey Pepperoni Nips, Ruben Barbasol, Can Rodriguez, Peyton Meadows, Natalie Young, Happy Hour checking in Ontario, California, Chloe Rush, Georgiana Porter, Barry McCockiner. You happy now? You proud of yourself? Lori Knack, Tony Pepperoni Nips, Impasta, evidently. Janice Hill, Jason Barnes, Jude Kendall, Megan Deliberate? Megan Deliberity. She wrote a book. It's called No Place for Lizard on Kickstarter, James.
Don't ask Jimmy to pronounce Italian last names. That's the name of the book.
How could you do that, Megan? Doug Jones, Kayla Jones, Jason Gillis, Shelley Roberts, Jamel Thomas. Happy birthday, Martha Taljard or Taljar. I don't know. She wanted me to try to pronounce some Latin shit that says "shut up and give me murder," but there's no way I can do that. Tasse et mihi homicidium. Was I close? No. Brendan Abel, Steve Schnell, Kirby Cherry, Michael Davis, Gina Engel, Madison with no last name, Alicia with no last name, Ann Jones, Sammy Salami Nips, Levi Wiley, Melly Clark, the real Colby Cheese Murderer, the real one, James, Caitlin and Matt Clark.
Coming out of the dark.
Mike Miller, Jose Avila, Patrick Britton, Katrina Livensparger, Courtney Horst, Ann Skeba, Andrew Edgington, Jason Alice, I think. I got a Hardick. Are you proud of yourself, you son of a bitch? Grace Anderson, Ryan Benner, Ryan Horan, Arista Garten, Laura Taylor, Yvette Anselmo, Courtney Bolton, Tiffany Kirchenbaum, Raka Gunmegas, oh boy, Linda Jackson, Jacob Cunningham, Belle Hooper, Dave Pearson, Jody Matthews, Malin, Stephanie, No, Steffi. Kim Wyndham, Angela Doherty, Alex Stace, Jay Hawker, Grayson with no last name, Nicole with no last name, Denisha Mays, Sherry Kappas, Braden Tang, I think, Colin Monette, Samantha Flowers. It's delicious stuff. Nipsey
I don't
3.
think anyone's ever had that.
Oh, really? Oh,
I haven't.
so
I think
good.
I had it when I was like 3 one time or something.
I've
still
had
exist?
it. Yeah, fuck yeah, it still exists.
Wow, shit,
I haven't had it in years, but I know it still exists. Nipsey 3, Jen DeBoer, Courtney with no last name. I'm not the one supporting it. Samantha Flowers, I said that. Courtney with no last name. Lila Cummings, Christy McNamara, Kelly with no last name. Michael Dowd, Chloe Brasher, Marzipan S. That sounds like a drug. Una Newman, Jen Cry, Shelby with no last name. Andrea Tedesco, Danielle Kelly, Sybil Sierra, Kelly McCabe. I know it. Ty Johnson, Joel W. Cybele. It's spelled Cybele. That's Cybele.
It's
Cybele.
Cybele.
Sybil.
Yeah,
It's probably
Cybele.
Sybil. Jay Chopius, Chepwoos, Joel W. I think I said that. Daniel Jackson, Pat with no last name, Brian Backner, Lisa with no last name, Rachel Van Gordon, Dana Crum, Toya Ward, Chris Drain, Ben Klein, Kyle Howell, Hetty Sprugans, Caleb with no last name, Amy Colby, Robert Glenn, Lisa Green, Loretta Leak, Deshanea. Bass, Madison Wood, Paula Thompson, Don't Hurt People and Take Their Stuff, evidently, Crystal Long, The Creepy Lady Next Door, Bob Babruski, Cole Mann, Joe Muscleman, Omar Guzman, Kelly from the Netherlands.
Man. Hey, Netherlands, thank you.
Christina Farrington, Jenna Lowe, Danielle Mitchell, Trisha McCarthy, Carl Martin, Jennifer Kulich, Casey Harrell, Alejandro Bailing, Kate Peterson, Jonathan Eric Federson, Adam Taylor, Chris Rodda, Gracie Bellender, Kyle Banks, Dana White's Penis, Wendy Chappelle, Pickle Pie,
Good to hear from him.
Berlin's Whimsy, Rob Seguin, Jennifer McKay, Fun Me Lorindy. I don't know. Chantel Marie, Max Burns, Jason Pickett, Gage Wagner, Fred Goins, Jake Stover, Garrett Fairchild, Lauren Ann Jacob with no last name, Sarah Fields Boyd, Jennifer Little, Matt with no last name, Teresa Bowie, Michelle Cost, Gray Crenshaw, Jamie Soledad, Delia Armstrong, Miss Leaney, and all of our patrons. You guys are amazing.
Thank you so much, everybody. All of you wonderful, wonderful goddamn people who support the show and... you make this a thing that we can do, and we care about what you guys think more than anybody else's, because thank you for doing that. Yeah. So we can try to make the good Patreon stuff for you. We really hoped you enjoyed John Wayne Gacy's theme song, by the way, a couple weeks ago. If you're not a patron, I would say the theme song's worth at least $5 just to hear that and wonder, what would John Wayne Gacy sing if he wrote a song describing himself and how he feels? And I think we nailed it. Perfectly. I really do.
The charts with a bullet, James.
Man, everyone seems to like it. What are you going to do? So anyway, that said, you want to find us on social media individually. Very easy to do that. You can go to shutupandgivememurder.com. There's links to all of our stuff, or just fucking Google search Crime and Sports Podcast hosts, and we'll pop up. We better pop up anyway, or else we'll know who to hunt.
Yes.
Anyway, either way, do that. Keep following us. Keep coming back over and over again, live from the Crime and Sports Studios. We will see you next week.
Bye.
If you like crime and sports, you can listen early and ad-free now by joining Wondery Plus in the Wondery app or on Apple Podcasts. Prime members can listen early and ad-free on Amazon Music. Before you go, tell us about yourself by filling out a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.